You see the final score, we track the revenue stream. Welcome to the show that treats the sports world like the multi-billion-dollar business it is. We dissect the ownership deals, the television right battles, the NIL impact, and the media figures driving the entire narrative. From Wall Street to the locker room, we follow the money and the people who control the message. Welcome to Press Row, the business of sports, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. Now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Nick Morgasen. And hello again, everybody. It is another Wednesday. It is our first show of February for Press Row on this February 4th, 2026. As always, he's Nick Morgasen from Plainview, New York. Callan McClurg from San Diego on another beautiful Wednesday in our first Press Row episode and another action-packed lineup of deep dives and, of course, two more guests joining us today. Mr. Morgasen, good morning / good afternoon. Great to see you as always. Another action-packed show, and man, we literally have things breaking before we even took the air this afternoon here today. Good to see you as always.
Yeah, this is going to be a really one of those shows where we're going to be locked and loaded. You're going to hear definitely stuff from the NBA trade deadline, WNBA news coming across the pike. We're going to talk about some old friends on this show as well. Playback TV, which is going to be in the news. And we're going to talk to a prominent guy that you and I have gotten to know over the years working with Playback TV. And also a legend in the radio business. We'll get to that in a minute. But we've got quite a show. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, even though we are going to do some bonus content, you and I, as part of Clearing the Bench, our Super Sunday takeover, which starts on Friday. Oh, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Friday, and make its way all the way through Sunday. We'll go over that scheduling later, but we've got an incredible show. So what do we got today? So we got WNBA drama. When is it not a Press Row show without it, right?
It's almost like it's like recurring shtick is what it is, or seems like every time.
Yeah, so we'll break all of that down. Sha'Carri Richardson apparently runs fast, but also speeds fast. And gets herself
not
in trouble
again.
Drama with the Chicago Sky ownership, which the W can't catch a break, can it? At all?
No.
Also, MLB and Main Street media, that seems like it's kaput. It's done. Teams are going to have to find their own way of doing shit now because Rob Manfred apparently wants to take control of all the local media rights, which is going to cause another nightmare and a longer lockout. But yeah, like I said, Brandon Towers is going to join us from Playback TV. He was the former director of strategic partnerships. Basically, we were a partner channel on there, and so he would take care of channels like ours because we had partnerships. We have a lot of questions for Brandon about Playback TV. He's going to join us for the extended version of the show today.
Yes.
At 5 p.m. Eastern. But before that, I would say this is probably a massive, massive legend in the business that's going to join us at 3:30 Eastern time. Scott Farrell, the legendary man himself, is going to join us. And if you want to know more gambling, yes, gambling is going to become in the forefront here. So if you don't know Scott, you're going to know Scott even further. He was a host on CBS. Oh God, we're starting already.
We have another NBA trade.
Again?
The Philadelphia 76ers have traded Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 2026 first-round pick and 3 second-round picks per Shams.
Well, we're getting closer to the deadline. That kind of makes sense if you think about it. Um, but yeah, so if back to Scott. So Scott's been on was the first voice on CBS Sports Radio, the last voice with David Shepard, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago on Infinity Sports Network. He's been on Howard Stern's channels for at least 4 or 5 years, and now he's doing Pharrell and the Prophet, which is gambling content. So there's a lot. He's going to tell us a lot. He's been in this business, God knows what, decades
Oh
now.
yeah, easily.
So you're not going to want to miss that. That's going to be an incredible interview. And like I said, Brandon Towers is going to join the show. So we've got quite a smorgasbord of topics. Also, we're going to get into Peacock losing $550+ million, which did you expect it to be that much money?
What? I did not. That's insane.
So we've got a hell of a show, and we have two guests. So we really got to get moving if we're going to get through.
We will get moving. Let's remind everybody, though, you can find us on social media. We are at Press Row ETB on Twitter, IG, and eventually on TikTok. You can, of course, follow the network on social media. We are at ETB Network. And, of course, subscribe at youtube.com/ETB Network as well. All right, Nick, opening shot to be fired here tonight or this afternoon. No surprise, Nick, again. More WNBA drama. Just what the doctor ordered for a Wednesday. But, of course, Nick, the first potential face-to-face meeting was set to begin this past Monday between both the WNBA and WNBPA as they met for 3 hours at the league offices in New York City this past Monday. But according to Players Association President Neko Ogumake, the league showed up without a proposal and failing to counter the union's offer from December. Here we are now in February. The 16-month impasse over revenue sharing, players are reportedly seeking 30% of gross revenue, has pushed the league to the brink. Natasha Cloud took to social media with a blunt warning, "We will not effing move until y'all move," open and close quote. With training camps opening up and set for April, team executives are now bracing for a delayed start to the 2026 season. But, Nick, if the league is showing up to high-stakes meetings with empty-handed, are they trying to starve out the players before the season starts? Or is the internal rift among owners preventing a unified counter offer back to the Players Association? Your thoughts?
Oh, this is BSing by the league. I mean, for the league not to show up. Now, here's the issue. So the players, the WNBPA made an offer to the W. This was what, over a month ago now? They were saying supposedly that like through the Christmas break, they worked through most of December. And the W never responded because, according to the W, they were saying that they just thought the deal was BS, and that's why they didn't respond.
Correct.
That's wrong, by the way, because the owners are instigating in some regards. I don't know. I see a delay now coming up for this season. I don't see how the hell they could possibly get the season started on time if they're going to keep delaying, and the W is going to say, well, we don't agree with this, with the way the money is being distributed, and that the players shouldn't get the 30% of distribution of business deals. We're in a stalemate. We're essentially in a stalemate that we're never going to get out of. And all in all, there's not going to be a season on time, if any, at this point.
Yeah, I would basically, Nick, almost say that it's inevitable that it gets delayed. I think now it's just the burning question becomes, it'll get delayed. How long, though? Are we talking about this maybe wiping out training camp? Will this wipe out the preseason? Once you start, though, Nick, once you begin to threaten regular season games, as I think we saw, 2022 or 21 with Major League Baseball, how they essentially missed, I think, the first week of the season. They made all those games up later, like in late September, part of October before the playoffs began. That's where I think the W runs into massive trouble. And I also think, Nick, think as well, it's kind of hard, who do you actually believe in this whole thing? I think the players, though, Nick, are right, though, because what other league, though, Nick, out there would you even think about would show up to a meeting of this magnitude and not have the briefcases ready to go or not have any kind of documentation ready to go to present some kind of an offer. And I mean, if the league is dragging this out this long, now I know that we have long said, though, that we both are in mutual agreement. Both sides are guilty. We think the league is more guilty, though, probably, I'd say, more than the players, but not by a lot. But I mean, this stuff, though, Nick, from the league, for the league's perspective or towards the league, this is embarrassing that you don't show up to a meeting prepared and ready to go when it comes to this sort of thing. Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, again, this sounds like a classic game of either chicken or musical chairs. And the problem is no one knows where they're going to sit at these meetings. You heard Agumake when she was asked out of the meeting when the press caught them, can you talk about the negotiations? And the answer was, we can't talk about them. Usually through the media, both sides are talking about what's going on the negotiating table. Now, they keep claiming that they're closer to $1 million salaries. I don't know why they're fixating on the $1 million salaries. That's not the main issue. I think both sides are fighting right now currently. I think what they're both fighting is does the WNBA players, the WNBPA, do they deserve a higher percentage of the revenue pie? And of course they do, because the names and the brand are what bring the money in for the W. And I think what sometimes it's not just the W, but the other professional leagues do this too.
They do.
Where they say, oh, well, if it's not for our infrastructure, you would have no place to play. Well,
is that really how it works, though? I mean, who knows?
Players could turn around and say, well, if it wasn't for our names and our brands and us bringing fans into this, putting butts in seats, as one of my former colleagues used to say here, you wouldn't be making that money or getting those sponsors or getting those brands to be involved with the league.
Nick, could I tie this in real quick to Friday's Small Market Edition episode that's dropping? Okay. And this might be a bit of a parallel comparison, but I think it does kind of fit with what you're saying. Because of me, for example, just as a player, because of my name and brand, you're now profiting off of where the league is at. In a weird way, Nick, this is a good tease for Friday's ETB Small Market Edition episode. I'm talking about Reggie Bush. And look what happened to him after he won the Heisman in 2005, 2006, where it was everything that his parents were getting, that, he was told you can't come to USC for 10 years, and how the Trojans football program, they got set back years because of what had gone on with that. So, in a way, why does that kind of feel like this is the same kind of thing you're tying it into, in a way where player name, image, and likeness is what's driving the WNBA in some way with Clark, Reese, and Brink? Could that maybe in a way be kind of where Reggie Bush was at one point 10, 15, 20 years ago? I mean, I don't think so. I think, though, it's a very interesting tangent that you kind of have broken off into here.
Yeah, but at the same time, Reggie Bush did break the rules at the time in technicality by accepting the benefits. This is different because the players are fighting for their own rights to be paid better, and the owners are playing hardball at the table. Or I should say that the W itself is playing hardball at the table. And then when you have the worst commissioner in professional sports running the operations, that just all adds up into a cyclone or a hurricane taking out both sides. And you're not going to have a season that starts on time. You're going to have a lot of fans who are women or girls, because that's the W is that demographic, that model, that are not going to be happy because they're not going to have the sport.
And even, you and me would be too. I mean, obviously we got to watch the games on Playback, but I've been along, it's actually fitting, Nick, that tonight the Gulls are honoring National Girls and Women in Sports Day. I'm going to have 2 female announcers helping me out with the game today, which is really cool that we're doing that this evening. One for in-game hosting, then one's going to be helping me out with some commercial stuff for, some of the in-game reads and stuff of that caliber, which is great. And I love when the game comes around because it really does show, that, where the world has gone now and that there's been more women getting into these kind of roles. I just kind of, for example, Amelia Schimmel, who has been doing the A's and the San Jose Sharks and Barracuda, Stanford University athletics. I think, Nick, I think everyone knows or remembers Renelle Brooks Moon, who was like with the Giants for 25 years in San Francisco, and she's laid the foundation for Carolyn McCardle, who does the Giants now, Marisol Castro, who does the Mets, for example, Kim Cota Robles, who also works in my league too with the Tucson Roadrunners. That, in a way, Nick, everybody here is going to lose if and when the league goes on strike. And I was also thinking a little bit, because I think next week's Small Market Edition is talking about the struggle that women's hockey has had to get a professional league on the map somewhere. And I recall, I think it was 2017, that the USA women's national team boycotted a tournament for the IIHF World Championships. And they basically said, we're not going to play unless USA Hockey gives into our demands. And they actually did. And I think we all remember, though, too, the USA Soccer lawsuit that I think took 5 years to finally figure out.
I was just going to say that if I remember correctly, that went all the way up to the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken.
It did.
And they won, if I remember correctly, too, because they said, hello, the men can't be paid this and the women can't be paid this. And by the way, this whole argument of business. Now, I get it. Like the NBA, the model is built where it's going to make more money than the W. No one is denying that. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, we're trying not to deny it, but yes.
But at the same time, the WNBA has grown exponentially over the last couple of years.
In I was saying, maybe the last 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, and you're telling me Caitlin Clark alone hasn't grown the sport in the last 2 years?
I mean, if you ask Christine Brennan, she would say yes.
But look at all the names and how many times we say this over and over again. Like Caitlin Clark, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu. Like, you could go off every roster now and name a big name on every roster now. So, and most of them are doing podcasts. So that's another thing that makes me laugh too. They're claiming that these players and the W players don't deserve a higher piece of the pie. Companies are giving them podcasts and they have followings. So you're telling me that they don't have followings?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who tries to say that, we get it. You don't like women's sports. Okay, we get it. You don't have to make it publicly known daily whenever that there's a post about, some trade in the WNBA or the NWSL going on. We get it. Just go back into the basement.
And and it's more satirical than anything, but when the Angel Reese stuff comes out, and she does all these dumb things, whether it's she did another one today that she released another pair of shoes. But what's funny is 4 to 5 years ago, would that have even been a story?
No way.
No. Now, when W players are doing something, it's becoming news across social media. So if the WNBA is going to claim that they don't have that they're not the reason for the league growing in revenue, what is that's the question I want the answer to. If it's not the players, who's growing the revenue?
Oh,
it's not the owners. The owners are not down on the court playing.
All right, Nick. So April 25th is April 25th is the first preseason game of the new season. When, though, as we were kind of debating last Wednesday and maybe the week prior with David Sampson, when, though, does somebody finally hit the red button and say that everything is going to be delayed for the foreseeable future? Would it have to be a month before that first game, or what do you think?
When's the draft?
I think the draft was set for April 17th, I think. Let me go double check.
Because you have the draft and you have the expansion teams.
Yes.
Also, it would have to be before the draft, though, because you can't just cancel. But
so the first year player draft would be April 13th.
No, it would have to be before that. When do they report the training camp? That's more the date you got to pay attention.
More of the day, and I forget what day it would be on, but I would think it either has to be training camp day reporting date where the red button gets hit, I think.
Well, last year it was because the opener was on May 17th.
Yes.
So I'm assuming it would have to be at least a month. Oh, it says training camps for the 2025 season began on April 27th.
So I'd say by March 27th that they would have to come to some sort of agreement, or the season.
It would have to be mid-March.
I'd say mid-March. I'd say like St. Patrick's Day week, probably.
If they don't, I would say if they're halfway through March and they don't have a deal, like you're pressing the panic button on the beginning of training.
I would be definitely hitting it. I think I'd be wary once March rolls around. I think to take it maybe, Nick, one step further, I'd be more concerned if there's no deal by when the college basketball season ends in early April.
Well, and that's the weird thing. You would think that the W, if they were smart, knowing that they have March Madness on their tails, that they wouldn't lock out, knowing that people are already watching basketball, like they would get their asses back on the court and they would play and figure it out. Give the players compromise in some aspect. Okay, you want 30. They're only willing to give, what was the number we said at the time? It was 10?
Yeah.
How about just meet right in the middle?
So they would have until, but they would have, Nick, till April 5th. That's when the women's basketball Final Four has their national title game from Phoenix.
What, you're saying to hit the panic button? No, it would have to be before that.
Because usually the draft is about a week after the national title game has been played.
Yeah, but my question is, you can't hold the draft unless you have a CBA. They already said that themselves.
Yes.
So here's the dilemma you run into, okay? If you don't have a CBA, you can't have a draft and you can't have your player expansion draft.
Correct.
And if you can't hold your draft and you can't hold your player expansion draft, you can't be ready for a regular season.
No way, no how.
So that's what you got to figure out here. And I don't see an answer for that anytime soon coming.
Nope.
And because the owners have basically said, we're only willing to give you 12, 13%, and the players want 30% of the revenue. Like, we're very far off on that number.
Big time.
And to be honest, like, I don't see that changing enough for the players to say, I'm getting back on the court to play.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to maybe find some kind of middle ground, but with how the league is just, like I said, though, the fact that a league can go into a meeting and not even come prepared with like a piece of paper, a ham sandwich or something. They just show up with nothing.
They said, we didn't show up with anything. That was the report.
I mean, like I said, that just makes this league continue to be a damn embarrassment. I really hate to see it as a lifelong fan of the sport, fan of the league.
So
I don't get it.
So here's the reporter of FOS and Annie Constable, who was following it over the last, I think it was on February 2nd when the meetings were held.
Yes.
The WNBA did not make a counteroffer to the players' December proposal at the meeting in New York City. Quote, they volunteered that they did not have a proposal prepared at the top of the meeting. Why would you do that? What? That's almost like it was strategically planned.
Dumbass.
And she also went on to say the WNBA and the WNBPA met for roughly 3 hours at the league offices in New York. The WNBA showed up without a proposal. That kind of set the tone for the conversation because we were hoping to hear otherwise, Nneka Ogwumike said.
And then we had Natasha Cloud sound off during Unrivaled this past weekend, too.
Do you blame her, though?
Absolutely not.
Now, could she have been a little more professional about it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I also think, though, it's just the fact of the mounting frustration thing that all the players are having with how the league has been operating.
And that's no question. That's 100% true. But when two sides don't act professionally, what happens?
This sort of stuff usually happens,
Chaos.
sadly.
Chaos
happens.
And pandemonium happens.
Chaos ensues, as they usually say. But again, folks, will keep an eye on that story. Again, WNBA strike still kind of hanging in the balance right now.
There's going to be a strike.
That is where things stand. Nick, staying in women's sports, though, over in track and field. Sadly, Nick, it has happened again with Team USA Olympic gold medal winning track and field star Sha'Carri Richardson being arrested last Thursday in Orange County, Florida, as she was driving 104 miles an hour in a 65-mile-per-hour zone in her Aston Martin. Her boyfriend and fellow USA sprinter Christian Coleman was also arrested after arriving at the scene and allegedly resisting an officer without violence. This incident comes as Richardson remains a central figure for Team USA track and field for the upcoming marketing campaign for the upcoming LA Olympic Games in 2028. Nick, for an athlete whose entire brand is built on speed, does this new reckless driving charge damage her marketability for the 28 games, or will sponsors and advertisers view this as a character hurdle she can outrun? Which, sadly, Nick, though we have talked about Sha'Carri, sadly, twice on this platform or network, sadly. I mean, I'm not going to deny it, Nick. Hell of an athlete. Probably, I think, one of Team USA's best men's or women's track and field sprinters, probably in my lifetime that I've seen. I was too young when Florence Griffith Joyner ran for Team USA before her unfortunate passing. And I know about, Noah Lyles and all the other stars out there. But, Nick, this now becomes, I think, the second strike against Sha'Carri since, I believe, the last Olympic Games in 2020/2021, where she had the marijuana arrest or suspension, I should say, because of, some stuff at home that was going on. I think
the attacking of her boyfriend?
Attacking her boyfriend, too, at the airport, which you talked about here on PR back over the summer. And now, Nick, this here, damn, this sucks to hear. It really does.
Yeah. I'm not to say this is a brand hurdle. I thought that was kind of laughable slightly. Because the first thing that came to my mind when you and I were discussing it was like, oh, speed because she's a runner.
She's a runner. She's a sprinter.
Like, is it, if I could speed because I'm a speed runner and I can do what I want. This is going to sound harsh what I'm about to say, but I don't think she's a good person at all. I don't know if that's me being harsh or not, but if I'm Team USA, I wouldn't let her compete.
I really wonder, Nick, what Team USA does now, honestly, because, obviously we had the other Olympic announcement made on Tuesday that they have announced the 6 American-based stadiums for the LA 28 soccer matches, which will include San Diego Stadium, which is Snapdragon Stadium, but because of the Olympic rules with naming rights, it'll be called San Diego Stadium, which, by the way, for those that are wondering, this is actually commonplace in the Olympic Games where they will spread out events like this because they may have they have enough venues though, but Nick, there's not enough time to play everything, at all the venues around LA. So they're going to be going to here, San Jose, and over to the Midwest and East Coast as well. And I think, though, Nick, Christy Wilson is right that, in fact, the Team USA might be in a pickle because, Nick, I think, Nick, this is strike 2 against Sha'Carri since the last Summer Games 4 years ago.
Yeah. I mean,
even last summer.
Like I said, if I'm Team USA, I tell her to kick rocks, to be quite honest. Like, and I know that's harsh and that's mean and whatever, but I feel like athletes sometimes get way too many chances just because of who they are and what their name and their branding is. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who that really fits because there's so many names. Tiger Woods stands out to me as one who
go one.
The sponsors all went away, but somehow they all magically came back and he still made all his money. I just don't get it. Like, if you're a bad person, you're a bad person. You need to go get help, whatever that is. Just go get help.
And I really wish that someone would get in her ear and kind of in a way, Nick, to draw the other parallel. I've been saying the same thing though about Angel Reese, because obviously, it's about the off the court endeavors. Are you a basketball player? We'll talk about the Sky here in about 10 minutes of time here for this episode of Press Row and talk about their ongoing ownership snafu. But that's where I've long said, though, can somebody get into the head of either of these two? And Nick, to time us in again to a small market edition episode from, really early on, was mainly the fact of I'm just thinking about how like other athletes, Nick, who get on the pedestal in a way, and then like everything behind the scenes, like family, home, what have you, it all begins to like bleed into their athletic career. Again, I talked about Matt Bush on Small Market Edition a while back about, his drafting by the Padres and how he went down a major alcohol rabbit hole when he got drafted and had trouble with DUIs. And there was no real help for him until he got out of his work release program and signed with Texas and got himself back on track. Then, of course, he went back down that rabbit hole after he won the World Series in 2023. And it's a shame, though, Nick, but so many athletes who have done so much to either give their life purpose, like maybe Richardson, again, as we said, she got popped for the marijuana suspension before the Tokyo Games, I believe, because I think her mom had been going through some health problems and was finding a way to cope with it. And I mean, you really wonder, though, Nick, like what needs to be done to make sure that athletes can get help like this. And I don't know if there's a right answer for it, sadly, because I think a lot of times, Nick, sadly, a lot of people don't want the help, which sucks.
Well, I'll give you another interpretation. I say this to people all the time, including to some people who were here who I said you might need some help if you want to continue doing this business. What's the number one rule of solving a problem?
What would it be for you?
Admitting you have one.
Yeah.
If you can't admit you have a problem, then how are you going to fix it?
Right.
If she's well, it's not allegedly, we saw it on tape that she hit her boyfriend.
Correct.
Or she's speeding, or didn't she allegedly get penalized for PEDs or something also?
Well, I don't know if she got penalized for PEDs, but the main one I remember, though, was the suspension for the use of marijuana. I think she got disqualified from the Olympic team that year. Yes.
Okay, so it was drugs. Got it. Okay. My point is, that's 3 strikes and you're out. Okay.
Yeah,
and I wonder. Incidents.
Yes, and I do wonder if it is in fact 3 strikes, Nick. What does Team USA do?
Cut her.
They would have to.
You can't let her compete. You cannot let Sha'Carri Richardson compete this year. That's not going to happen. She's probably already been on the roster. It's too late already because the events technically started yesterday? I mean,
well, this is more for 2028 in LA because track is not in the Winter Games.
That's right.
So there's 2 years time, but still.
You know what? I think she is a headache. I think she's going to cause bad branding for Team USA also. And I know people say, oh, well, the Olympics is not supposed to be about branding and advertising and money. And what are you talking about?
I mean, I think it's become that way more so nowadays. I think in the last several years because of television, corporate, and other things of that caliber.
Right. But I laugh because they're doing more and more things to cover the Olympics digitally. They're putting it on radio now, which seems kind of ridiculous.
Peacock's got Gold Zone.
They just signed Scott Hansen to the LA 28 games to do that on top of this. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a bad look for Team USA, and she's got to go. She can't compete in 2028. If she's never going to admit to having a problem, then you're just going to keep. It's like a drug addict or an alcoholic or dare I say an obsessive gambler, where if you keep gambling, what's going to happen? You're going to be homeless and in debt. Or if you keep drinking, what's going to happen? You might get in a car and accidentally crash and kill yourself.
Right.
And I know, I'm sorry if that's painting a dark picture, but my point is, you as an individual have to fix your own problems, whether you're an athlete or the average Joe like you and I are.
Right.
We all have to learn that we can't have negative behaviors or negative actions because those are going to have consequences down the line.
Yeah, I mean, and everything has consequences, consequences, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. But yeah, I wonder, Nick, the summer games and the next, summer games are in 2 years. I don't know if they're, even then, I would think if I'm Team USA, as much as, whatever it might be, I think you got to separate yourselves from Richardson, sadly, and it sucks though. But again, when you're stuck in this, stuck in this hole of insanity, as we always say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's kind of where we've been, though, sadly, with Sha'Carri Richardson. But again, we hope that she'll get some help. But again, we'll keep an eye on that story. But again, still 2 years to go, though, until the Summer Olympic Games come to Los Angeles, California in 2028. Nick, staying going back to the WNBA, ownership now is at the forefront here, but minority partner of the Chicago Sky, Steven Rogers, no relation to Captain America, has now filed a lawsuit in Cook County, Illinois, against Sky principal owner Michael J. Alter. Mr. Rogers alleges Alter has violated his fiduciary duties by self-dealing stakes to boost his own shares while also diluting others, specifically as the team's valuation has surged to $240 million. Rogers claims Alter ran the team as a private concern without a board of directors. But Nick, as team valuations, though, have exploded, is this lawsuit, though, by Steven Rogers a warning sign for the other franchises that old school ownership structures cannot survive the new money scrutiny in the WNBA?
Well, number one, this has nothing to do with ownership structure. This has to do with illegal operations of an ownership of a team. That's fraud. That's money laundering. You're trying to up your percent. Well, not even up your percentage. You're upping the value of your percentage while everyone else is going down. I mean, hello. I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Make it make sense to me.
Because
I wish I could, Michael K.
Yeah, like I'm trying to make sense of this slightly, but I read a tweet the other day, which someone said, and the W claims they have a problem with money, but they have owners laundering to save their percentage share that it has more value. Figure that one out, will you?
Let me try. Let me just say this about this. And I think, Nick, we have talked a bit when we have talked about Angel Reese with the Sky. But I have long said that for nearly the entire length of the organization's history since 2008, Nick, this team has been scrutinized by players who have played for the team. And by the way, they don't knock the fan base at all, Nick. It's all the internal stuff within the organization. Everything from, ownership, coaches sometimes, facilities. They play in Rosemont. They were playing in Rosemont, not in downtown Chicago. Now they do at Wintrust Arena. Facilities and this. And, when the list, though, Nick, includes Elena Deladon, Tamara Young, Candace Parker, Chicago's own, and other players, Nick, who, when they had left Chicago, had basically said, this organization is poorly run. I have friends that are Sky fans, and they said the same thing when we were doing a women's basketball podcast like 10 years ago, if not longer. They say, Michael Alter's a dumbass. Michael Alter's an idiot. Michael Alter's all for himself. We fans don't get any perks when it comes to season ticket memberships. They cut off, perks we have with like player meet and greet dates at a bowling alley or at a restaurant somewhere, so. And now, though, Nick, it's almost like inflating the ego here with Michael Alter. And I just don't, Nick, understand why all of a sudden now that this is becoming a thing, because, we're heading towards the lockout is one thing.
Well, I'll tell you why it's becoming a thing, because we're at the flight of a money issue going on between the WNBA and the WNBPA when it comes to CBA negotiations and who is entitled to what percentage of the revenue that's going on in the league. That's why this is becoming a huge issue and why it's coming to the forefront. And if I'm the WNBPA, I'm saying, hello, one of your owners is laundering over here. And you're blaming us, saying we don't bring enough value, but your owners are trying to launder against whatever money and make shareholders look bad. What the hell is that?
And that's the part, Nick, that I just don't that I don't understand either, is how that is going on. I don't get it. Like
The ownership club, that's why.
well, yeah, and I think, Nick, we've also long said though too that we have long been of the belief though that the league front office doesn't have their priorities in the right places. They're worried about so much other BS.
No, they're worried about taking the players down. They're not worried about
they're more worried about like a full-fledged civil war with their players association.
Well, they would rather win the fight than stop the battle, is the way I look at it, where let's fight the WNBPA and let's knock each other down limb for limb. But what they don't realize is the battle is the WNBA season, and that's in the balance right now currently, because the two sides can't come to an agreement because they're both greedy pigs who can't decide who deserves what value.
And that's where, again, Nick, to my point earlier, this is where, again, fans lose. You know, the Sky fans lose, we lose, basketball fans lose who watch the game at a high level, men's or women's.
But you could say that about any league.
We said that about Major League Baseball, I think, on the lounge over the weekend.
But look what's about to happen with Major League Baseball over the next year, and we're going to talk about that actually next segment probably, but
yes,
just as a little transitional phase to finish this story. But it's the same issue where the players are being demanded by the owners that we want a salary cap because we want to stop you guys from making the highest amount of money possible. If you think about it, both leagues are operating the same models.
Yeah, they do, which is very much interesting about how this whole thing is shaping out right now.
Now Major League Baseball is the only sport left professionally that doesn't have a salary cap.
Correct.
Now, you know what this is? This is overcorrection by Major League Baseball. Because they said, shit, all these years we didn't have a salary cap, and we had to give away millions upon millions upon millions, and our bottom line looks like shit, and the RSNs are now gone, so we don't have that money. Now, the difference between the WNBA and Major League Baseball is the WNBA is pretty much run on a national model, so they don't have to worry about RSNs.
Right.
Every game is pretty much a national game, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
In Major League Baseball, they kind of need to get with the times and figure out how to get a national model in place and stop with the RSNs. And we'll talk about it, but Evan Drylick and AJ Brzezinski on Foul Territory were talking about why aren't more teams creating their own subdivision of their games?
Yeah.
And if I'm the WNBPA and I'm the teams, instead of jumping on these deals, why don't you just make your own? Now, I understand that comes with infrastructure, and infrastructure costs a lot of money, but maybe it's worth it.
Maybe.
But this is a problem that an owner in the WNBA is laundering money, turning money around to make him look like he has more. And the owner has, first of all, you have a fiduciary responsibility as an owner to protect everybody's money that's invested in a team. So you can't just commit fraud and move people's money around without telling them, or...
Sure I can. Who's going to stop me?
The law. The law is
sure about that?
Yeah, actually, that financial fraud is one of the worst you can get yourself involved in. It is. It's if you do it and you get caught, which most of the time people do, you do jail time in a big way.
Yeah, nothing like a slap on the wrist. Like it's actual, like, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime, right?
And all the failure.
Okay, Cosmo, thank you very much.
All right.
With that in mind, though, Nick, we are a bit ahead of the curve, though, with our timing here. By the way, again, folks, as a reminder today, 2 more heavyweight guests join the program today. Again, Scott Farrell at 12:30 Pacific, and then our good man, Brandon Towers of Playback TV, 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Yeah, this is going to be great. We have a great lineup of guests. We've done very well so far. Our best of at the end of the year is going to be, we're going to need 2 weeks probably to do best ofs of shows, depending on the way this goes. I mean, we're a little ahead of time, so we can talk about clearing the bench.
I was just going to say, Nick, how about we do that? Yes.
So clearing the bench, Super Bowl Sunday takeover on the Empty the Bench network. We got lucky this year. We were able to put a lot of shows together. Join us across the whole weekend, and that includes Friday. So it's an extended weekend. It's almost like a 3-day vacation, like when you were in school and you saw you had Friday off.
It's a 4-day weekend.
Or it's like Memorial Day weekend. You would have Friday and Monday off. Like that was one of the best weekends ever. Like you just no school on Monday, no school on Monday. Yes.
Yes.
Like, so a lot of great programming, which will get underway with the football forecast Friday. Yes, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. The football forecast Super Bowl edition will be live. Johnny Montalbano will lead the process as the host, and a bunch of us will be there. We are going to do prop bets. We are going to do funny Kalshi and Polymarket prop bets, which I love doing.
Oh, no.
We're gonna break down the game. We're gonna give you what we think the best commercials are gonna be. And there's a guy.
I think I already know what my favorite commercial is going to be because they've already leaked a bunch of them out already.
Well, one was the polar bear, which the Pepsi apparently stole.
No, mine is the Budweiser one.
Well, the Budweiser one is great. And I don't know why they leaked them. Usually they don't leak them like that.
Yeah, it was weird because like CBS this morning was like leaking them all. Like you're spoiling the
fun.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll talk commercials, we'll talk prop bets, we'll go over the game, we'll break it all down. We have an hour and a half for this show. So it's only one game to pick. So we're going to be doing a lot through the coverage of there. That's it for Friday. Saturday's a busy one. Unnecessary wagers, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. Nick DiMartino, Liam Barwick. Join them for all the gambling processes of Super Bowl 60.
I even think, Nick, we even gave them like a list of random prop bets to use on the program too. I don't know if they did, but that might be for the lounge on Sunday night or Saturday night, I should say.
Right. So Saturday, that'll be 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by a special edition of Gridiron Gridlock, Super Bowl edition with Trevor Williams and Christy Wilson, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. And following that will be the normal edition of ETB Lounge on Saturday night, which will be Super Bowl edition. Nick DiMartino, John Latter, and Callan, and maybe some few others. That'll be 9 to 11. That'll take you through the night. Then we head into Super Bowl Sunday, the actual day.
11 hours later.
Ugh. So Sunday gets underway at 11 a.m. Eastern. It'll be Zanzinger Part 2 colliding with Gridiron Gurus from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Zambando, Grant Winsauer, Michael Rapolo, Ben Cruz. That'll be 2 hours. And then, a special edition of Press Row?
Yes.
I'm a dumbass.
Yes. That'll be from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. And yes, that we promised that to be an hour. Because I'd like to watch the game. And after that, I think it's at 6 p.m. Eastern, an audio only special edition of Benchmarks, the 11th Hour Revolution, which is all about how there's ridiculous amounts of pregame coverage leading up to Super Bowl.
Yeah, who would have thunk it'd be a rained out golf tournament is how it would lead to the 11 hours of pregame coverage.
But yeah, and by the way, there's going to be a ton of other coverage throughout a lot of the other shows. You're going to see clips drop for the Super Bowl. And then the plan is, if everything works out, we are going to do some post-game live coverage after the game ends We do have a resident Patriots fan on here. So either he's going to be very happy or he's going to be very pissed off. There's no in between on that one. We don't have any Seahawks fans, so I can't help with that.
Sea chickens, bitch pigeons. What are they called?
Seahawks?
The Seahawks.
I don't
sea
know.
chickens.
But yeah, we have a long weekend ahead. Zan and I are talking about doing a live episode this coming week of Empty the Bench, maybe after the show. Maybe that'll correspond after the Super Bowl, depending on how the schedules work out. So there's a lot on the plate at ETB Network, across social media platforms, youtube.com/ETB Network, where every single show is aired live, and also across all our other ETB Network social media platforms. So we got a long weekend.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else, though, Nick, when it is Super Bowl Sunday. And as people will hear, though, because you gave me the honor, I don't know if it's the honor to do the 11-hour marathon episode, though.
Oh, I did that on purpose.
But it was cool, though, because, like I said, it literally was about the fact that the Phoenix Open, the very infamous / famous WM Phoenix Open, got rained out on Sunday.
Waste Management Open
in for Super Bowl 12, and CBS had to improvise, for like a couple of hours to get to kickoff time, and it gradually grew because nobody had backup plans back then for if something like that would have happened.
Who would have thought the NFL would have said, you know what? We're just going to put on 11 hours of pregame coverage so we can hear from the middle school coach of whoever the starting quarterback is.
The college coach, the youth football coach, mom and dad.
Or the graffiti that's being painted around the arena that simulates Super Bowl whatever with the teams, or the food of San Francisco.
Oh, and that's usually clam chowder or chili and bread bowls usually in San Francisco. Oh, it's really
I wouldn't know. Oh, that sounds kind of good, actually. I've never been to San Francisco.
I mean, it's a beautiful city, but it doesn't matter when you go, it's going to be cold.
Well, that and just some of the poor, unfortunate.
By the way, isn't NBC doing something with on Alcatraz Island too? I think.
Yes. So they're sending Collinsworth and Jack Collinsworth, his son.
Now he is a guy,
and I think Tony Dungy's going there. I'm gonna look this up quickly because God knows what I'm gonna find. Let's see. Okay, NBC will broadcast live from Alcatraz for part of the Super Bowl pregame show. So it's not the game.
I have not been to Alcatraz. Not what times I've gone to San Fran, by the way.
That seems like a creepy place to broadcast, though.
It would be. I mean, it is a tourist destination. You take the boat, you take the ferry boat out from the pier out to the jail, and you go from there and stuff. And it's funny because all the stores along the bayfront up there have all these shirts that read, like Alcatraz swim team, established 19 whatever. Obviously, I think people know that Johnny Cash played a concert there at one point at Alcatraz, I believe, or at San Quentin, one of the two.
So this says NBC announced that the trio will host Super Bowl pregame coverage live from Alcatraz Island beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday.
10 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah. Coverage will feature a look at the island's historic significance as a military base, prison, and seabird conservation site.
Yes.
As well as the 19-month occupation by Native Americans in support of freedom and civil rights. Just looking to see if there was anything. No, I mean, I think they just didn't want to send 10 million people to Levi Stadium.
Yeah.
Because how many freaking people can you send to the same place?
Oh, I know. I mean, or just, use the city as your backdrop, as they usually do for the Super Bowl.
I mean, there's a lot of cool things to do in San Francisco. Just got to avoid some of the bad areas when you go.
Yeah, I mean, believe me. I mean, San Francisco's, I've been there again, California resident, born and raised. at least in Southern California, but I've gone to NorCal several times. I mean, San Francisco is beautiful. It's very much, it's the old Mark Twain line that the coldest winter I ever spent in my life was a summer in San Francisco, because it's always 60 degrees every day of the week that you're there. Doesn't matter what time of year though, but beautiful place.
You know why I want to go to San Francisco? Because I do the touring of
all the Major League Baseball stadiums. Yeah,
I want to go to Oracle. I've always wanted to go to that park. That park is unreal.
It is. I mean, it's very cold, even for us Californians. It's cold. I went to a day game for a friend's wedding, and I had 2 jackets on because we were in the upper level and the wind was howling in from off the bay in right field.
See, that probably wouldn't bother me as much living in New York.
Yeah.
So I love. Well, I used to know it as oh God,
AT&T, SBC, Pac Bell.
No, I knew it as AT&T. Which is still quite a long time ago.
Well, I remember when it opened up, it was Pacific Bell Park before Pacific Bell merged with AT&T.
I remember Pac Bell. That was old. Did you see that some of the Radio Row, like Dan Patrick, was doing his radio show like right across from
across the bay from Oracle Park. Yeah,
it was right in the backdrop.
Yeah, and I think he had the Giants president on the show recently.
CEO Bear.
Yeah, Larry Bear.
Yeah. But
by the way, I did like it though that Dan Patrick tried to needle him to ask about if the Dodgers were ruining baseball, and he said the Dodgers are a great competitor for the sport.
I mean, I appreciate the comedy a little bit.
Yes,
because he knows it's true. But why would we admit that? That's money for baseball.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding, exactly.
But yeah, we have a long Super Bowl week ahead, and then we'll transition from football because that officially will be over on Sunday night, and we move on to pitchers and catchers reporting for baseball.
Can you believe that already?
The NBA, we start picking up more on that. March Madness starts making its way into the picture. So,
and we'll be following the Olympics too. Somehow
we need an Olympic pop-up show. Something. I don't know how.
I think curling is already underway today in Italy, I think, for day one.
I still don't get how that became the joke that curling, do you know how that curling's on?
I don't know, but and I think that and before we get to hour 2 here in about 3 minutes, I think, Nick, that is the beauty of the Olympic Games, is that you don't have to know jack shit about whatever sport is on. You're going to sit on your ass and watch it and act like you know what the hell's going on.
My favorite is when someone tries to act like they're the biggest USA fan of all time. They don't have a damn clue what they're freaking watching whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like watching the biathlon, for example.
Yeah, Team USA, USA, USA. Do you even know what sport you're watching? No, USA, USA, USA.
In a way, I like to call that fake patriotism. In a way.
Yeah. See, I like watching the Olympics, but I'll never be the asshole that says, "Oh, I know what I'm watching."
Yeah, I'm ready for hockey to start. I think the women start Friday. I think at 6 o'clock my time out here on the West Coast.
Did they ever get the ice situation figured out?
We'll see. I don't think so.
Are they going?
They're going.
That's stupid.
The NHL, I think there's two more days of games before they officially go to Italy. The women are already over there. They left about a week ago, I think.
Okay, so they're making a stupid choice by going, even though they don't know the safety of the ice.
I mean, thankfully, though, my organization, we're in 3rd place at our break, and we're in a playoff spot. So I'll take it for what it's worth right now. Another NBA trade. What do we got?
The Chicago Bulls. Where's Zan? The Chicago Bulls are trading Kobe White and Mike Conley Jr. to the Charlotte Hornets for Colin Sexton, Osman Dang, and 3 second-round picks. Yes, okay. If you hear wee-woos throughout the show, it's because the NBA trade deadline is now officially 24 hours away.
24 hours a day.
24. I thought you meant 25.
My goodness gracious. So again, folks, we will also keep tabs on any more trades that happen. Apparently, there was a earlier story by Shams, I think, that said the Mavericks were inquiring about a couple of Laker players, and they said, like, hard stop. Not what happened last season.
Yeah, I mean, would you want to trade with them after they took Luka on and made him into a totally different player, actually not being fat, or actually, as Scott Snyder would say,
Fat!
Oh, God.
But it's been a much better situation for Luka, and now it's going to become his team when LeBron decides to cut ties with the Lakers and probably will play one more season either with the Knicks or with the Cavaliers. But we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to hour number 2.
Done.
Let's get into the MLB RSN debacle. The RSN model hit a wall on Monday as the Marlins, Reds, Royals, and Cardinals officially left Main Street Sports Group, which is the housing of FanDuel Sports Network. The Reds were offered just $42 million to stay, a $10 million pay cut from their 2026 contracted deal. MLB is now taking over production for these teams under the MLB Media umbrella, whatever that means. Meanwhile, some teams are eyeing Victory Plus, which you know too well,
Yes.
a free ad-supported streaming model as an emergency escape pod. When teams are willing to take a 20% haircut on rights fees just to escape their local team deals, has the local broadcast check officially turned from a gold mine to a toxic asset?
I mean,
Yes.
can they just bury the hatch already and just, call it a day and just go home? I mean, I think to refresh the thing, I think all 9 teams now are off of FanDuel. For
All
Major League
MLB
Baseball.
teams are off. MLB's
Yeah.
deal is done with Main Street and FanDuel. That's it. It's done.
And now, Nick, the cascading effect is going to be the NBA and NHL when the season concludes.
Well, and I have to see if I can find the video really quick, but Evan Drylick, I referred to it before.
Yes, we actually watched the video last night when we were prepping for the show.
And of course, I can't spell his last name correctly. There it is.
But I mean, like I said, though, I think, though, Nick, that we've seen this day coming. And I think, as I've long said, I saw this coming. And obviously, I've lived through it, though, with the Padres losing what was then Bally Sports San Diego in 2023, 3 years ago, to where they've gone now to Padres.TV through the MLB Media Corporation with 10 games on local stations, here in town. But with that, though, Nick, let's go and listen to the commentary from Evan Drielich alongside AJ Przinsky on Foul Territory.
But what I want to know, Evan, has anyone looked into like the Rangers, okay, for instance, and the White Sox? They started their own network. Did they make more money off that than they did off their previous deals? Because the Braves, right, are talking about maybe starting their own network. So the teams actually, other than Yankees, Cubs, Mets, Red Sox, the big ones, Dodgers make a ton because of sports in LA. But do any of these teams that start their own network, do they actually make more money? Then why wouldn't it stop every team from making their own network?
Well, look, the infrastructure involved, the investment involved, and the time and effort, it's a lot of capital generally, people, money that you'd have to invest to start your own network. I haven't looked enough into it to confidently tell you exactly how those networks have done. I can do that, but what I think is true is that none of them have done so well that they escape this larger RSN problem, which is that, and Rob Manfred's been on record about this, and I don't think he's wrong, that eventually, even for the teams that are doing well, the big market teams, cord cutting is going to start to eat in to the money that they get. It is not something, while the problem has largely plagued smaller market teams thus far, and the Braves are certainly, they have a lot of viewers. They are an exception there. It's something that's going to come for all of them. And so the answer doesn't seem to be, well, every team go out and start your own network. You framed it around, this is Rob's dream to have all the teams inside MLB.
Hard stop. I brought this up to you yesterday when he said it. Rob Manfred. Yes.
Hold that thought for like 30 seconds, Nick. Per both Adam Schefter and NHL writer Emily Kaplan, former New York Rangers star Artemi Panarin dealt to the LA Kings, per both Schefter and Emily Kaplan of ESPN.com, within the last 5 minutes in the NHL.
Wow.
So the official teardown and rebuild now for Tom Albano's Rangers is officially underway.
Interesting. Okay.
Continue.
But hard stop on that comment that Rob Manfred wants to run all the local rights of the teams. What?
I mean, haven't we talked about Project 30 though for quite a while though here on PR?
No, but hold on. What? Like what? What do you mean Rob wants to run all the local rights?
I didn't realize that was his job to do that.
No, his job is to make the league money, not control people's rights.
I mean, like I said, though, I have gone through this, and now all the other teams, again, as Evan said, though, again, not named the Yankees, the Cubs, Phillies, the Dodgers, obviously. Those markets will be fine, though, Nick. But it's, in a way, it's kind of like where the sport itself has been, though, for the last, several years, 10, 20, 30, 10 to 20 years, where it's the Dodgers, Yankees, the Cubs, all them. And then, so you've got your nucleus of teams that, spend or whatever. And then you have Colorado and Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay and Miami. So I don't know, though, Nick, what the right solution would be for local television. Unless, Nick, you just say, screw it. We're going to go back to, I don't know, the NBC 4 or ABC 7 up in New York City for the Yankees, for example. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I don't.
Well, let's hear a little more.
Yes.
There's some nuance there. The dream is to make as much money as possible. That is what they're trying to do at every step of the way, and they'll talk about balancing it with reach. You sometimes you could sign up with a service that will pay you more, but maybe gets to fewer fans. And
hello,
there's
Netflix.
Sort of balancing act there. But the bottom line is the bottom line. What Rob wants is to be able to sell a large amount, or ideally all, of the local rights to potentially a bidding.
You just heard what he just said again. He wants to sell all the local rights to potential bidders. Does he want to kill baseball further?
Make it make sense to me.
Does he really want to kill baseball further?
I mean, it's not, though, Nick, as if we haven't thought that this season there's a lot hanging in the balance of this baseball season already as is, because of where the players union and the league are at right now. Salary cap, spending floor, one, both, all of the above, neither. That on top of the fact, too, again, about, there's still teams not spending. Now, Pittsburgh has obviously spent this season. The Reds have spent this season. The Marlins keep trading away players to the farm team up in New York called the Yankees, for example, with Ryan Weathers going up there earlier in the offseason. The Padres, for what we were hearing, there's at least 3 groups now, including 2 very wealthy European soccer owners who might be involved. The lawsuit involving the Seidler family has been dismissed, per reports late on Tuesday night from Peter Seidler's widow, Sheil, towards the brothers who are running the franchise right now. So, I mean, there's a lot of different problems right now that need to be on the priority list, Nick. I hate to say it right now, though, Morgasen, local TV is not on my radar when it comes to the future of the game I love the most, and I played for as long as I played when I was a kid.
All right, let's continue.
Streaming company in a bidding war, or multiple streaming companies. If you can say to ESPN or Peacock, whatever, come 2028, hey, besides the Sunday game of the week, you could also be the local home to 20 markets, 25 markets. There could be a lot of money attached to that, and there could be more money, the thinking is, than would be available with every team partnering on its own with an individual RSN. So what Rob wants is to control local rights through his office.
I'm a dumbass.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's getting redundant hearing what Rob wants. I mean, is this really the movie What a Girl Wants by Amanda Bynes over and over and over and over and over again? Well, Rob wants this. Rob wants this. Who cares what the commissioner wants? Stop killing the game.
Wait a minute. Do you remember the question I asked you last night when we were watching this? Is this a democracy or a dictatorship?
Option B for 500, Alex.
It's a dictatorship. This is no democracy involved here. He wants to supersede the owners, He wants to supersede the players, the union. This is full dictatorship here.
And why do we think we're on a collision course right now for a lockout when the season concludes?
Well, because of salary caps, but that's a whole different issue.
And then the big question becomes, okay, if he gets that control, how is the money divided up? What happens to revenue sharing? Because the big market teams obviously have more valuable rights than the little market teams. And this is where collective bargaining with the players is going to be really interesting, because the players have an input on this. So if MLB wants to change what it does with local media rights, and it does, it's got to go through the union in regards to revenue sharing. And it's a very big jigsaw puzzle that's going to kind of underlie all that we're going to be talking about coming up here.
That's probably the smartest thing I've heard yet.
I mean, that about put me to sleep.
But I'm saying that was probably the smartest thing I've heard so far.
Agreed.
The senior writer for The Athletic knows this better than the freaking commissioner of baseball?
Holy mackerel, man.
What does that tell you, though?
I mean, it's telling you that the commissioner is out of touch with the game and with everything involving the sport right now, which is unfathomable for the commissioner of a sport to be so out of touch with it.
No, but he wants to control all the rights, all the team rights. Okay, this is just funny. Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
This is not a trade. This is funny, though. According to Shams, Lakers center Jackson Hayes has been suspended 1 game for pushing a Wizards mascot.
What?
I mean, that's funny. Can't make that one up. Boy,
Yikes.
oh boy.
That's terrible.
I don't know what to say, but Major League Baseball is on a collision course for a massive lockout.
Oh, they are.
Can you imagine, though, if we have a WNBA complete lockout strike?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I could have told you that. But
Any baseball fan could say that.
can you imagine if we have a WNBA lockout and an MLB lockout?
Ugh, I don't want to think about that, but I mean, it's possible, sadly. It's very much possible.
Hey, it gives us more to talk about.
Day 500 of the MLB lockout.
Just
Day
wait.
Day 250 of the WNBA strike.
Wait, was that the SpongeBob episode where he has the bell? He said, Day 23! Day 23!
On strike. We're going on strike. I still don't know what strike means, but we're going on a strike.
I don't know. Baseball's got a huge problem. I don't know. One, they got to get out of the local model. They got to figure out a way to get out of it. I don't know how they get out of it, but they got to get out of it.
They do. And again, I don't know if there's a clear path forward right now because of where things have gone. And I get, though, about what Evan was saying, that, there's going to be markets that are going to be fine. Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Cubs.
That's naming all the big markets.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of said, though, okay, that's what, 5 or 6 markets. What about the other 24? If there's nothing for them available. Now, again, we talked about, with Victory Plus, for example, again, that was launched by the Dallas Stars and the Anaheim Ducks to put their games on TV in a roundabout way, while also having games on cable stations like, KCOP 13 in Orange County in LA, for example. They've snatched up rights for other hockey leagues, high school football in Texas, indoor soccer, volleyball's on there. The NWSL is going there for 20 games next season as well. And it's for free. It's all geo-locked, as Nick has said, though. Again, you're able to, again, I can watch the Ducks games here on TV because I live within the Orange County and LA digital, marketplace, basically, for television when it comes to that sort of stuff, though. But I do think, Nick, eventually there's going to have to be plan B, C, D, plan X, Y, and Z for all these baseball teams eventually.
And I don't think it's networks, because some of these teams think, oh, we're going to make networks. That's expensive to make
And
a network.
I think the Rangers launched their network this past year, and as did the Blackhawks and the White Sox and the Bulls.
That's the problem. Like, everyone thinks, oh, well, you could create a network and everyone's going to come watch because it's got the network and the team branding on it. It's not that simple.
No,
It's just
complicated.
not. And that's why you see teams, they take money from networks and then they do all the work. Why do you think they want to do that? That way they don't have to do anything else besides show up and play baseball.
Right.
That's it. Like, they're not, they might have say over who's calling the game and who the sideline reporter is, but that's it. The networks do everything for them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, that it's just one more thing though that it adds to a player, or not to a player. It's one more problem that it adds to a team's plate that I don't think they want to mess around with or deal with right now. But it's inevitable that, those 24 markets, not named those 6 we already name dropped, are going to have to come up with some sort of solution. And I don't know if that looks like if it's a streaming / like local news station bundle, if it's, local TV like CBS 8 in San Diego, or, whatever it might be. The Angels also, were a part of those lost deals as well with FanDuel Sports. I'm sure they can get picked up by KCOP or KTLA, for example. There's that issue. There's the issue, I think just with, how exactly would would this ESPN digital platform work? I recall reading the email I got from the Padres, because obviously there's numerous questions about what would happen with, Padres.tv. And they said, look, it's just transferring over to ESPN. Talent is still going to be the same, though. You'll be able to watch it on cable and stuff like that. I think they've already announced, though, that they will have games again on Channel 8 or Channel 6 here locally. But that is a major problem, though, Nick, when you have all but 6 markets like really in the red right now when it comes to television.
And it's not even because of the teams. It's because of Main Street Group, which has FanDuel Sports Network or FanDuel TV, whatever you want to call it. But they went under, not the teams. And then when you say, oh, well, we'll give you $10 million less, what do you think that team is going to tell you? Go kick rocks.
Yeah. Why again, and I also, as well, Nick, I think I remember that we talked about the Lakers having some problems, though, with Spectrum Sportsnet. Now, that is separate from what the Dodgers play on, because theirs is called Spectrum Sportsnet LA. The Lakers station is the original, what was then Time Warner Cable Sportsnet platform that launched in 2015 or 2012, I think. But even then, we were talking about would they maybe perhaps sell off the Lakers and the Sparks off of that station because they're losing so much money, locally as well.
Like I said, it really doesn't affect LA. It doesn't affect New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. I mean, those are the big markets. They're always going to make money, whether their team is good or bad. It doesn't matter. In New York alone, the fans will come out and hate watch the Yankees and the Mets, and with the Angels and the Dodgers. Like, the Angels suck, like, big time. Like, and usually we're not supposed to have like massive opinion like that, but like, they're so poorly run.
They are.
Everyone's going to go watch them.
Yep.
Because it's what? It's LA.
Of course.
And because they can still charge a shitload when they have no talent there. When you sign, what's his name, to a 1-year manager contract.
Kurt Suzuki.
Which you realize how dumb that is, right?
And that kind of went to a point, I think, that we both had talked about a little bit, just for the simple fact of, what would the marketplace look like, though, for managers or players, though, because of the fact that we are, in a way, kind of heading down the inevitable path, though, of there being no season in 2027 or a long delay for next season.
Like I said, it's not going to affect those big teams. They don't care. They're going to lose the most money out of every affiliation, because if there's no baseball, then there's no product. They can't air sponsors and reads and all that stuff that makes the money. They can't have the partnerships going. Now, if the big teams are smart, they could find other ways to do digital content if there's no season, and they could get those sponsors involved in digital content, which is what I think could happen. Think about it. When COVID came, And I was still working in radio at the time.
Right.
There was panic that went on in our industry because who would have thought COVID would have lasted, what, 3.5, 4 years?
Yeah.
And radio hasn't recovered at all. And what are they doing now? They're doing this thing that we're doing now, which is
Yeah.
digital podcasting or live.
Correct.
So you're going to have to adjust as a league. COVID killed a lot of business.
They did.
Oh, big time. It changed the way the business evolved. Sports, entertainment, fast food, retail. It changed everything. Okay? And it's the same thing here. Nobody watches baseball anymore. I hate to say it. You and I will, and a lot of other people will, but it's not the most popular sport like it was 10 years ago.
Right.
10, 15 years ago.
If not longer.
NFL is the king
Yeah.
right now. Unfortunately, that's not even me as a big fan of the NFL. That's just the facts. If you look up the ratings and the audience metrics, the NFL will way overtake everybody. I would say the NBA is probably next.
I agree with Zan. Better to watch baseball in person than on television. It's made for the in-person experience, in my opinion. I would say the same thing about basketball and hockey, even soccer.
It depends because, like, when you go to an NBA game, you don't have to worry about the elements.
Right.
The NFL, for the most part, you don't have to worry about the elements, for the most part.
True.
For Major League Baseball, you have to worry about the elements a lot. And sometimes you have no control.
Right.
Because the NFL sometimes will play through a snowstorm or through rain, as long as there's no lightning in the air. Baseball, what do they do as soon as rain comes?
Tarp on the field.
They can't play. And then
Close
what?
the roof.
And you know it's bad, like when they had to institute pitch clocks and do all this other stuff. You don't see a pitch clock in any other sport. Now, the difference is you have play clocks
Yes.
in the NFL and you have a shot clock in the NBA. NHL doesn't have that. But
And you have a serve clock in tennis now, too.
I think the difference, though, with the NHL is it's constantly going back and forth.
Yeah.
So you would never need a
No.
goalie clock of some sort.
No.
Because the ball is constantly moving. You would never be able to
Yeah.
keep, or the puck would keep moving. You would never be able to keep up with it.
Zan also says college basketball is better live in person than NBA, in his opinion.
I don't know if I agree with that fully.
I might lean that way a little bit, not because I work in college hoops, but because the atmosphere, maybe the tradition.
If you go to an insane NBA game, the atmosphere, like if you go to a double overtime game or a triple overtime game, NBA games are insane. Like, just going to Madison Square Garden, I can have a blast watching a Knicks game. I've been to Barclays Center twice. There's too many obstructed views inside of Barclays
And
Center.
that's why the Islanders did not last when they went to Barclays after they left Nassau.
Right. The only thing I don't like about, and this is more symmetrical than having to do with the game, I don't like the two halves in college basketball.
I really hope eventually that they go to quarters eventually, just like the women's basketball has already gone to quarters.
No, Zan, I get that. It's a big deal for major D1 schools like the ones I went to. We would plan, right, because you guys don't have professional teams right around where you are. That's why the D1 schools, the D1 games are big. But if you're in New York, or if you're in LA, or you're in Philadelphia, or you're in Chicago, well, where you are, but if you're near the teams, you're going to go see professional first. That's how it goes in a lot of cities.
Yeah, and I can kind of speak to Zan's point, though, with 3 Division I schools within San Diego, and all 3 have had runs in some, the last 25, 30 years, roughly. Like, come on, you see San Diego went from being a D3 to a D1 and almost beating Michigan last year. Everyone knows about San Diego State because of Kawhi Leonard and Steve Fisher and their run in 2023. My school's kind of been, building towards something nice. But we had, our moment in 2008 when we beat Jim Calhoun and UConn. And especially when you're in a market with no NBA, You have the G League in town with the Clippers having their minor league team in Oceanside, way up north in the county. That's where the basketball would lie here, though this has been predominantly a Laker town for as long as I've been alive, for 31, 32 years.
And by the way, Scott Farrell is going to join us in about 5 minutes. Just want to let everybody know, hopefully
Yes.
soon. But what I was going to say is you have more of a beef because in San Diego, your NFL team went away. You don't have an NBA team. At least
two NBA teams left here. Two of them.
You have an MLB team which has some promise, but is still not 100% there yet. And you have the Dodgers, which are now destroying baseball. You have the Ducks, but that's not right near you.
No, that's in Anaheim. It's Orange County.
So you have plenty of beef because there's no teams around you right now currently.
And honestly, we filled the void with soccer, both the NWSL and MLS.
Well, I'm just answering to Zan's
point, though, yeah.
That at least in Chicago, you have the Bears.
You've got a team in every professional sports league, sir.
You have the Bears. You have the Bulls. You have the Cubs. You have the White Sox.
The Blackhawks, the Fire, the Stars.
The Stars.
Yeah.
So that was more my argument there. That there's so many professional choices in Chicago that, for the most part, and I'm not saying Zan, because Zan covers a lot of college sports, but in the mind of a sports fan, they're going to look at the professional stuff first, before they ever go to a college game, because some people don't understand the college game as well.
They don't. Either they don't understand the game. Maybe they didn't go to the university, for example. I mean, I don't know if that goes anywhere or what have you. But with that, though, folks, it is time for us to get out and into the interview space for our first of two guests today, Nick. And we got a radio icon joining us here this afternoon.
Yes. So Scott Farrell is going to join us right now. A lot to talk about. Let's bring him in now. Scott, how are you?
What's happening, fellas?
Great to see you, Scott. How you doing today?
I'm doing good and getting better.
That's good. So I guess we'll start here because we've had a few people on. You were the last show on CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Network. We had Shep on a few weeks ago also. Thoughts on the ending of the network?
Well, I thought it was cool that they asked me to do it. I did the first show on CBS Sports Radio when it started, and then they asked me to do the last show, and I wanted to do it with Shep. Shep's my guy. I gave birth to Shep. He's one of many young guys that have worked for me over the years that have become very successful, which I'm proud of. It was a breeding ground for talent based on, the shows that I've done. Shep started with me at the Howard Stern channels on Howard 101, and he was an intern and he was very young. I've known him about, I think, 19 years now, something like that. And he's, obviously taken advantage of his opportunity and he's run with it. And, when I first met him, he was kind of I always said noodle to the fridge kind of guy. He would say anything to see if it would stick and get people fired up. And he was really good at it. I thought Sizzle, Rasan Rogers, who does the Sternology on the Stern channels, he was another one of my guys that, they wouldn't give him a penny to work there. And so I gave him a gig and I said, listen, what we're going to do is, because I really like the guy and, I balled with him a lot. He's a great basketball player, Rasan. And so's Shep. I don't know if you knew this or not. He played at Bucknell. He's got game, but he never plays, right? So he's really a pussy when it comes to, I play every day of my life. I'm enormous. I'm 6'4", 240, and I can score from anywhere. And I'm very physical, and I go to the 10, and I'll foul the shit out of you. I'll rebound. I'll run. I'll finish. I'll shoot. I'll pass. I can do it all. I played my whole life, and both of those guys could ball. Rasan was 6'5", stretch. Brother that could dunk and played a lot. In my view, he was a guy that he was so talented playing that he was like Kobe to me. I'd play with him on weekends. He'd come out and play with me where I play. And I played with, back then I played with some decent players. now I play with all these retired pros and D1 stars, D2 stars that all were legends in college and pro basketball that played. Like, Andre Barrett's a point guard. He played at Rice High School in New York City. He's the point guard, one of the best ever in New York. He played at Seton Hall, played in the NBA. He plays with me. I played with him this morning. So those two guys played ball with me a lot. I didn't really give a shit about them other than that. I wanted them to both get on the air with me and be something. I wanted Shep to be that guy that pissed everybody off, and I wanted Rasan to be that brother that pissed off all the white people. Like, he could get white people so mad, like it was the greatest thing you ever heard in your life. Like, every night he just upset white people, and it just was just automatic money for me. I was like, this is fantastic. And then I'm playing all the music, and I had Lou and Mafia in the room. So if you look at all of them, they've become very successful. Lou runs like a huge podcasting network. Mafia is probably the best director I ever knew, producer I ever knew. He does a MMA show now or something. I always thought he was just brilliant at directing and producing. I used to tell him, I go, I don't think you're that entertaining. I think you're my good friend and the best producer I've ever had. He's obsessed with making it in broadcasting. So I respect that. I want him to do that if that's what he wants. But he's one of these guys, like, he could work at NBC. He could work at ABC. He could work at CBS. He could work anywhere in television and be the best director and producer in the room. So every guy, like, I've had 1 million guys become successful. Shep has turned it into NBA radio on Sirius XM. He's working for my old boss, Eric Spitz. He's, done really well. They fired everybody at the network. I think the guy that made that move is a penis. And I think that he's a cheap motherfucker. Can you say that on the show? No?
Yes,
anyway,
you're good.
I hate him dead. I think the guy's a jerk. And I'm going to hate him forever. I just want to be clear. There's not going to be like a month or like a 6-month window or a year or like a 5. People say, what are you going to do in 5 years? No, I'm going to hate him ever because like what he did was he did what they do in radio now. They hire cheap ass talent that's young that they don't want to pay. They call them rising stars, which means someday in 10 years, we might pay you, but we never really will because we're going to fuck you over too. So I've seen all the tricks in radio from like penis bosses and penis program directors and, dickhead losers that think they know more than me about entertaining people. And I can tell you that, here's the reason I don't do it anymore. So I've always said, I tell the truth. All these other guys, so everyone at WFAN said they were replaced, or some people call them departed. I call them fired. Where yes. I come from, I'm from the side of the river where when your show ends, you're fired, you fucking tool. And so every show I ever had, I got fired, right? So I've been fired like 20 times. I've been on the air for 41 years, 35 nationally. I'm really fucking good at doing this and entertaining people. In fact, I'm a badass, but I'm so sick and tired of working for, how should I say it, cunts that I won't do it anymore. I refuse. People have been offering me jobs, and I don't want any of them. I don't want to work for you because you're a cunt. And I know that you're going to fuck up my show like everyone else has. Every show I ever did, they fucked up. I mean, every single one of them. Howard had Bubba and Pharrell. He fucked that up. He didn't do it. The Suits at Sirius did it. And I'm on Sirius XM now, the app, with Pharrell and the Prophet Show. So I'm still in bed with these people. And I think they're great people, but they still fucked up that channel, right? They fucked it up. I was at CBS Sports Radio. They fucked that up. Then they had me come back, do the last show. I did it with Shep, and it went by real fast because, I'm entertaining as fuck, and it just flew by like it was like doing drugs. When you're doing drugs, the drugs dissipate real quick, and then you run out, then you got to go get more. That kind of thing. Show was over real fast, like we ran out of drugs. And, or, you run out of pussy. If you got hot chicks at the party and they all leave, then the party's over, right? And then you got to find fresh recruits. So I think Shep's going to do great on Sirius XM NBA radio. Here's the thing, though. Let's go back to him being a pussy. He is the biggest pussy I ever met in my life because he never plays ball. And he talks shit about like that he can stop me. Are you fucking kidding me? He's a, how should I put it, midget. He's 5'3". I'm 6'4". This guy couldn't stop me if I was chained to a fucking door in a prison. Like if they chained me with like handcuffs to the fucking prison door, I'd still score with my left hand. And then Sizzle could actually do it because he's 6'5" and can dunk and can jump out of the gym. So I used to be able to dunk when I was, I'm 61 in July. So I'm still playing and I play with great players and I'm still really good, but I can't dunk anymore. When I was 20 till 40, I could still dunk because I weighed around 180 to 190. Now I'm 240. I'm a fat ass, but I'm still in great shape. Like I have no real fat on me other than dinner gut. I have like a liquor dinner gut. I'll show you. Like it's kind of like, I got like right there. I got like a liquor. It's a liquor dinner gut. Like I eat everything I fucking see. It's a seafood diet. I eat. People go, hey, if you watched your diet, fuck off. I don't watch any diet. I eat everything I see. When I eat a bag of Doritos, I eat the fucking entire bag. When I eat popcorn, there's white cheddar. I eat the whole fucking bag. Pussy ass eating 5 or 10 chips and you're on some kind of fucking diet. I eat the whole goddamn thing. Now, so he never plays ball. So you cannot talk shit about how great you are and how you have handle and a great explosive step, which he has. But when you never play and you think you're going to come around into the hood where I fucking play with the superstars I play with, they will humiliate your shit. I played with a 7-footer yesterday morning. He scored so many times that I started making phone calls going up and down the court to like handle my shit I had to do that day because I knew I wasn't getting the ball. This guy dunks from everywhere. He's 7 foot tall. There's no little fucking midget 5'3" motherfucker coming in to do anything against this dude. All right, so he doesn't matter anymore. Now, Sizzle, his problem is he started running like some kind of fag out in LA. He's running fucking in some runner club. Like, I'm like, what do you do, man? He goes, yeah, we run. I go, what? You run? You go running? I go, no one fucking runs. Okay, I play basketball. I don't run. I don't go on runs. I don't jog. Okay, when I train, I run sprints and suicides so that I can keep up with these dudes that I play with now that are 10 times better than me and that light me up. And if I don't keep up, they'll start calling you a pussy and they won't let you play, right? You either can play or you're not playing. So that's kind of the story. It took a long time, but I circled the wagons with Shep and with Rasan. All the guys that ever worked for me in radio, I've even said this story really quick. Even guys that hate me dead that I fired, I still like them too because they had something in them, the balls to call me a cocksucker. I thought that was, fantastic. And then, when I asked them if they wanted to fight, because I'd be into that too, that a couple of them actually went the distance and tried to fight me. And then I would fight them and there'd be hands thrown. And I like guys like that actually, call you names and then back it up with throwing hands and then try to tackle you or something. But like I said, tackling me is problematic because I'm enormous. So, I'm like a tight end in the NFL. I mean, think about it. How many guys in the NFL are like 6'4", 240? That's tight end size. So when you tackle me, you fucking feel me, okay? And then when I land on your fucking head, then it all starts fucking happening. So I've had a couple guys want to kill me, but for the most part, I'd say 90% of the guys have been successful that have worked around me in the business. And then there's 10% that want me dead. Now, Bob Knight had 100% graduation rate, and anyone that ever played for him, there's only about 2 or 3 stragglers that fucking hate him dead. And then like 99.9% of the people that worked for him, including me, I loved him till the day he died. So I'm not in that realm. I'm about 10% short. I got at least 10% of the people want me dead.
Jeez. With that, Scott, though, you've been you long pioneered gambling talk for sports for decades, long before it became legal in states. And I always make the joke, though, Scott, because I live in California. You say the word gambling out here, it's like a death sentence out here where I live in San Diego. But Scott, what is your honest take, though, on the rise of the what they're calling prediction markets? I mean, we're talking Kalshi or Polymarket. Are they simply another sports book with a fancy name, or are they perhaps the future of how fans will actually engage with what they're calling sports truth, though, in your opinion? Though, where are you standing, though, about Kalshi and Polymarket, especially though with the rise of DraftKings and FanDuel?
Yeah, I don't. Well, first of all, my son goes to San Diego State, right? So he's a junior at San Diego State, and he's got a really good bookie, like everyone else out there does. So here's to the feds and the local and state popo who can't catch anyone gambling out in California with all the fucking problems they have. I lived in Huntington Beach for 12 years. I lived in San Francisco. I did my show in LA all those years. My son goes to San Diego State. He gets the best buds. He gets the best pussy. And he has a good bookie so that he can bet every day on everything, right? Like, so I don't know other than knowing about it. Like, I know all about it, and I know what they're doing, and I know they upset everyone, these prediction markets. They're talking about, like, I read an article yesterday about how they're, doing the announcer prediction market now, what they're going to say in the broadcast booth, and they predict everything now. We used to call that in Vegas, when the husband and wife went into the header together, we used to bet on who would come out first, right? Or the wife or the husband, and it was the same thing, the prediction market. So I know that it's enormous, and it's obviously growing, and it's obviously gotten under the skin of all the houses, because now they're fucking doing it. They've created their own prediction markets at these sports books, and they won't even name it. They won't even give it a name because they don't want anyone to know that what they're up to no good, because they love to, couple things, take your money and then make you a gambling addict. They always play this card that and I know all of them. I know every one of them. There is nothing they want more than for you to have a gambling problem and lose everything you have, including your house and family. They don't give a shit about anybody. All they want is your money. The third thing is the amount of painful advertisements, like Kevin Hart. I used to like Kevin Hart. Now I don't care if he dies, because I'm so sick and fucking tired of that guy with his goddamn gambling commercials, and LeBron James and John Hamm. John Hamm is great on The Perfect Neighbor, or whatever the fuck it's called. That's a great show. But when he's trying to convince me that Euphoria is inside of a casino, and that's the place you go when you die, you end up in a fucking casino, and that it's just the greatest place on earth. It's extravagant. It's fantastic. It's just the most, unveiling of happiness in your life, being in a casino. Who the fuck are you kidding? A casino is the bane of your existence. It's your undoing. They're going to take your money one way or the other, whether it's gambling, whether it's drinking, whether it's whores. They're all in there. You can get any kind of disease you want at the casino. So, fuck the prediction markets, fuck the casinos, fuck the sports books. They're the enemy. I'm on the side of, so I have a, betting service.
Yes.
Profitable.tv. Our goal is to do the sports books in the ass on a daily basis. My goal. And then when you start winning, they put limits on you. They are the shiftiest, dirtiest, worst people on earth. And you know what's great is that I had to do shows for years where I sucked their dick. And now all I do is talk shit about them because they're all a bunch of fucking evil, filthy cocksuckers. And I can't stand them dead. I hope they all die. Now, I had a friend that used to run one of the biggest houses in the country. He left to run, the ponies in Australia. And he was a legend in the States running sports books, enormous ones. And he left to run the pony business down under, right? He left too because it's so dirty. Like, I mean, I know that horse racing is just as bad, but at least he's home. He's from Australia, and he's the boss. So he got a powerful job. I have another friend that works for one of the big houses, and he's a VIP host, and he's a great kid. and he was a great basketball player, D1 player, and now he's a host for one of the big houses, and he makes a lot of money, and he does really well, and he's living the high life, and he's got it all. Those are the only two friends that I have in the sports book business. Everyone else, I hate dead. I can't stand them. They're not fooling me. And anyone that's fooled by their bullshit. Oh, here, let me see if I can land a 5-leg parlay on the same game parlay. Yeah, the odds of you knocking all 5 legs of that off are, Sydney Sweeney's going to come over and fuck me in about an hour right now at my house and fuck me for hours before my wife gets from running errands. I mean, shut the fuck up. Like, I tell this guy all the time I play basketball. He's like, man, I got a 3-teamer tonight. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're not hitting any 3-team. I guarantee you lose one of them. They'll do anything to fuck you, those sports books. They, not only that, they steal your money. If you are dormant on an account, they steal the money. They steal your money. They just stole my money in Vegas at William Hill, stole my money because I live in New York City and I'm not in Vegas betting enough for them. So they stole my money. So I wrote them a nice letter to shove it up their asshole through their fucking throat and taste real shitty when it comes out. The guy that ran Caesars, I told him we were friends for 30 years. I go, I don't fucking like you anymore either, motherfucker. And if I ever see you, I'm going to beat your ass. This is the show you guys have ever fucking done, by the way. This show will go down in history on the press row. I mean,
it is going to, yes.
It definitely will. Scott, I want to ask you about something you said about fake betting content creators. Because we see them everywhere on Twitter, Instagram. You see these accounts that say, oh, I know the bets. I know the best and handicapping.
I never get a bet wrong.
I've seen your success rate. I think I've heard you say what? You said like 70%?
I've had seasons of that success in the NFL. I had a 72% season in the NFL, and I literally slept with KY because I jerked off so much. I had that kind of a season. But I have had all kinds of losing seasons. I've had all kinds of losing days. I've had all kinds of losing months. I lose bets left and right. The difference is I'm real transparent about it. When I bend over, I show everybody me getting it hard in the ass when I'm losing bets. Like North Carolina the other night, up 30 with 7 minutes to go, and they win by 10. When they rolled out their fucking bitch squad, the girl team, to try to finish Syracuse off, and they gave up 20 points. I lose bets all the time. I lost a bet last night by a hook, and there's nothing you can do. I lose bets left and right. And the thing is, I admit it, and I think that's what fans and customers of mine, they appreciate. And I think that my 35 years of doing it and the success that I've had and the amount of bets that I hit, like, so when I go on the air, I do this show at night on X Spaces, and I go on at 6:30 East, and what I do is I hit every game on the board, and I give them free. And then, like, the other night, I hit 11 of 16 NHL bets. I hit tons of college basketball games, NBA games, and I do them all free. I'm not trying to rip anybody off. My company, Profitable.tv, has 5 pay picks that we offer. We have different pay packages, and we're not trying to do anybody. We're trying to hit every bet. We're trying to win. I get blamed for everything. Dak throws 3 fucking picks in a game and doesn't cover. It's my fucking fault. I get death threats. I get everything. The team loses in overtime in hockey. It's my fault that I wasn't standing in the crease knocking some guy on his ass. So what I try to do is I try to do my best, and I've done very well betting. I'm really good at it, and then I am really bad at it when I'm bad. Like, I hit 12 elite plays in a row, and everyone was, knobbing me, and I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. Then I get 10 straight wrong, and I got people outside my crib in Hell's Kitchen with guns shooting at me. Like, I mean, honestly, I used to leave CBS at night. I swear to God, this is great. I used to leave CBS at night. I had so many death threats that the cyber crimes of the NYPD, I'm top 5 all time. So's Howard. And I used to leave the building at night to get in my car, which I parked across from the building, and I'd look left, I'd look right, and then I'd run. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's no joke. I've been attacked. I've been sucker punched. I've been threatened. I've been everything. Everything has happened to me. I've been in all kinds of brawls. People come out of nowhere, sneak up on me. Like, I used to walk into, the Howard Stern building on 48th and 6th in Manhattan, I'd have some dude tackle me on the fucking sidewalk going up 48th, trying to beat the shit out of me. I've had everything happen because of betting. Betting is very dangerous business. There's no doubt about it. And, usually like in California, right, you got to have a bookie. So guess who runs all that? The underworld, the fucking scum of the earth. They run that. And then in New York, they're even worse. Those are their fucking cousins and uncles running it. And it's just all a bunch of losers and dickheads. But listen, I love betting on sports. I love watching sports and I've been doing it. So I started doing nationally sports betting on Westwood One in the 90s. So it was like 94. I started doing it. I think I was in San Francisco doing Sports Channel America and KMBR. I started giving out spreads and money lines and totals and reverses and stuff. And then I kept doing it on the national Pharrell and Event show through 2000 or 99 when I went to do NHL play-by-play in Atlanta for the Thrashers. And then when I went back to doing shows, I kept doing it. And then in 2012 or in 2006, when I went with Howard to the Stern channels, I started ForellandEvents.com and started selling them. I always did them free my whole life, but I'm sitting there watching this guy make $100 million a year, and I'm over here fucking eating rice. I'm like, holy shit! And they paid me well, I'll give you that. But when I see a guy making $100 million, I'm like, I gotta have a side hustle. So I started selling them, and it was a huge business. I'll tell you, I made a ton of money doing it. But the problem was when they legalized it, it tanked, and now I've built it back up to a few thousand customers that are on my profitable.tv because I'm good at it. That's why they're there. And they know that they can, over the month, invest and make way more at the end of the month than at the beginning of the month. So I've done well, but it's a tough business to succeed in based on everyone thinks now with their phone that they're a handicapper, even bitches. I got like chicks that think they can fucking lay down some fucking wood on a game. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And I'm just like, just stop it, and everyone thinks they can bat. And I'll tell you what, people that think they can bat are the ones that lose the most,
All the time.
At least I admit, like, it's a brutal, nasty, hard business. And it really is. It boils down to math and really, it's like I say to people all the time, people are like, well, my son will call me, he'll go, I don't like the line movement. I'm like, listen, you either have fucking nuts enough to pick a side and lay the wood or fucking don't get involved. I don't care what the fucking spread is. People are like, it went from 1.5 to 2.5. I'm like, fuck off. I need to win the game by 2. Eat a dick. I laid 1.5, So it's, you have to have balls and you have to, not worry about, losing because you will lose. And then all the people on TV and radio that talk about how wonderful they are at it, they're all a bunch of fucking liars. I worked on that pancake griddle. I've never worked with so many goddamn liars in my life. Not one guy ever lost a bet, ever. Meanwhile, I'm over there fucking vomiting in the men's room. I lost fucking $2,000. I'm fucking puking in the men's room. And I'm like, so I was friends, I was friends with all the colleagues there, and I got along with everybody, even though they were all a bunch of fucking prick liars.
Wow.
I tell it like it is. Like, I'm over here. I just lost $2,000. I'm at the bar fucking cussing and drinking shots. I'm so mad because I've lost money. I won't sleep over it. Like games, when I go to bed, I can't watch sports because I get up at 5 a.m. to ball, right? So if there's a game on, like the Penguins were on the Islanders last night, I gave up on it at 9 because I'm going to bed, getting up at 5 a.m. and playing for 90 minutes against badasses. I got no time to not sleep. You show up on like 3 hours sleep at this place, some guy will have his nuts in your face. He'll be hanging on the rim doing fucking pull-ups on your fucking face with his nutsack. So I sleep, and I can't have sports on the TV because and Callan looks like he's about ready to have a fucking stroke having me on this show. I just
this
but
is tremendous.
I cannot watch sports in bed because I won't be able to sleep. I'll eat a lorazepam because I had open heart surgery, everything else. I have to take pills to sleep. I have to take pills before, after dinner. I have to take pills in the morning, all this other shit to, I guess, live. And I'll stay right up on lorazepam. I'll have 2 milligrams in me, knock over a fucking horse. Meanwhile, if I got a game on with money on the line, I won't sleep. I'll be there with one eye open, sleeping with one eye open, clutching your pillow tight.
I just want to follow up on one more thing before we run out of time. I just want to understand the timeline, because you were with Stern. How long were you with Stern for?
I was there 9 years, and I was at CBS Sports Radio 9 years. And then before that, I was at Fox Sports Radio doing shows in New York when Howard hired me and brought me with him to Sirius. So when he started on Sirius, he brought me with him. I was at CBS for like 21 years, basically. I got a pension out of those people, thank God. And I was in the union, SAG-AFTRA. You have to be in New York to do shows and to be in the newsroom or be on the mic. And so that's why I went back there. When Howard changed the channels to make it more about him, which I would have done too, I went back to CBS Sports Radio. They wanted to move me to like Mad Dog Radio or something. I couldn't really take orders from him. Just like I told you, I'm not really good with listening to people tell me how to do a show or what to talk about or what to say. Because, I've been doing it nationally for so long, 35 years. And I was on in every city in the country. I'm on every great radio station, the biggest radio station in the history of rock and sports. And you want to give me fucking advice? How about I give you some fucking advice? Shut the fuck up and go have a sandwich. How's that for fucking advice? And put some mayonnaise on it so it gets on your fucking lip when you're eating. I don't listen really well to people that have bad ideas. I listen to people that are creative, that are artists, that are smart, that know how to make things better and make a show bigger and better. And I like good ideas. And when I work with really every radio and TV person I've worked with, at the end of the day, it's penis central. I said this earlier to you, they fucked up every show I ever did. So now, let's see, when I went national in Vegas in 93 at Sports Entertainment Network with John Renshaw and Papa Joe Chevalier, then I went to CNN. I was number 1 in Atlanta. Then I went to San Francisco. I was number 1 on KMBR, and I did Sports Channel America everywhere syndicated. Then Mel Carmison hired me. I went to LA. I did Pharrell and Events on Westwood One, CBS Infinity, and I was the home base was allegedly WFAN New York. I had people say you're not good enough to be on WFAN New York, except I was on it for fucking 6 years, and I was number 1 in 18 to 34 for 6 years. That's why they hired me, to be 18-34, to be the king of young people digging radio and Generation X. And then I went to the Thrashers, and then after that I did Sports Fan. That went bankrupt, and I did the last show on that network. And then eventually I made it back to WFAN, and then I did ESPN in New York. I did nights. I got them their only ratings they've ever had. Now they're like fucking Sissyville. They get like no ratings. They went from being huge to they're like ants now. They're like fucking red ants. And then I went to Morning Drive NEW New York. Like those were all the stops. And then eventually Howard hired me. I did Miami mornings. I was number 1 in Miami. I lived in Miami my whole life. That's why I'm a Canes fan. I had a place in Miami my whole life. And I went down there to do mornings with Neil Rogers. We got a 20 share. It was the greatest shows I ever did in my life. The funniest guy ever. He made fun of everyone. He's the funniest guy I ever worked for. Howard's the best. Neil's the funniest. Those were my 2 favorite people that I ever worked with in the business. And then when I left there, I got fired for saying Howard David's wife had a dank box. Then the FCC sued me. I beat him in court. And then when I went out of the courtroom, I did a little fucking Miami cane dance. I did a little fucking dance. I looked over at the feds and the fucking lawyers, and I said, how's my dick taste? And then I ended up on the Howard Stern channels, where I should have been always, because I'm so heinous and horrible and awful and filthy and disgusting and kick ass.
So would you have stayed at Howard if you're saying the suits wouldn't have gotten in the way?
Yeah.
Like there would have been no CBS Sports Radio or
I would have stayed there until I was dead, because that's how much fun I had. We could have burned fetuses on the air and got away with it. Honestly, we did whatever we wanted. I had porn stars come in one night and blow my entire staff live on the air until they all shot their loads. And it was fucking the greatest show ever. Listen, I was a horrible human being. I used to go to my kids' sporting events, and people would say, he's the devil. They shouldn't allow him. Those children should be kicked out of this school. His wife is a whore, slut.
Oh, geez.
Because of the show I did on the Howard Stern channels. But listen, I'm friends with Howard, Beth, all of them. I'm friends with everybody there. I love them. It is what it is. Howard never fired me. Sirius never fired me. When they warned me that it was coming, because they loved me, Howard's like, listen, he called me one day from his limo with Ronnie. Listen, they want to move you to another channel. He's like, either do what they say or run for your life. And I was like, thanks, dude, later. And I was like, go on. I went back to CBS Sports Radio. I went back to do the CBS Sports Radio because I knew I could get another few years of my pension. When I'm done, like at 65 or whatever in a few years, they're going to pay me every month till I'm dead. And if I die, my wife gets half of it till she's dead. So it was a really good deal for me to do Pussy Radio because CBS Sports Radio was the biggest pussy network. It was Pussy Radio, and now it's Pussy Part 2. They went to Westwood, and they're doing young kids Pussy Radio, and no one listens.
Well,
the only one that they listen to is Rome. That's it.
I'm actually glad, and we'll end on this one because you brought up the new Westwood one. Have you listened to it? Thoughts on it?
I never listened to sports radio one day in my entire life. That is the truth. I've never listened to one show ever, including my broke ass show. I don't listen to shows because I was in it and I was an entertainer. And then if I sat around listening to everybody, then I'd be, I guess, worried about everybody and what they were saying or thinking. Like when I was on WFAN, Mike and Mad Dog used to bash me. So I just called Fat Cecil a horse fucker. That was the end of it. I was like, you want to fucking argue with me, you fat fuck? I go, I will ruin your life. Same thing with Dana White when I was on the Stern channels. He wanted to argue with me all day. And you cannot be the head of that company and spend all day talking about Scott Farrell. But I can talk bad about you every fucking night until you want to fucking kill yourself. Like you don't want to take me on in a uncensored arena of talking shit. But I love everyone that does it. I encourage everyone to do it. I want everyone to be successful. I want everyone to have a job. I think the business is terrible now. The money is even worse. I come from a golden age of making all kinds of money in radio, and they've ruined it. They have destroyed radio, where I wanted everyone to make a lot of money and be great on the radio. Every guy that worked for me, I want to be on air and successful and a talent and a star. But I never listened. When I was on WFAN during the holidays, I told the story. I've never listened to the station once ever. And that's the truth. I never listened. My mom was a pianist. She played in the Chicago Symphony. She said she never remembered how she did when she was in front of a packed house going 100 miles an hour playing Tchaikovsky. She said she just did it. And I kind of had the same thing. I would do shows like at Pat O'Brien's in New Orleans, people throwing bottles of beer at me. And when the show was over, my producers would carry me to the hotel because I was hammered. And I'd say, how was the show? Because I don't remember when I do it. Like I do a million shows in my life. And I'm just good at doing it. And I don't like to judge others or to listen to others or listen to myself because it's a waste of fucking time. I want to be better every day doing the show and be great on the air every day. But if you sit around like all these guys that run radio stations are like, all right, gentlemen, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at last week's shows and we're gonna break down last week's shows. And I want to see your monologues and I want to see how you did in that third hour and in that last quarter hour. It looks like your numbers are different. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Can you imagine working for some dildo that makes you go back and listen to yourself? Oh, all these coaches in radio and I'm gonna teach you how to, do a show and the first 30 seconds, the first 5 minutes, the first 15 minutes. Shut the fuck up. Like I'm there to entertain people and for people to love it and be addicted to it. And I was their crack and no one ever turned me off. I know people hate me and think I'm painful and my voice is painful and I'm irritating and I'm a dickhead and I show up. I know all these fucking things. My own family fucking hates me, but no one ever said I sucked. And the ones that did, they suck. because I don't listen to people that have nothing to do with it. Like people are like, you don't matter. You don't even do anything. You don't even work. You know how much fucking money I made, dude?
A lot.
Like,
probably.
listen, I never listened to anybody ever. And I think that's why I made it. If I would have listened to all those broke dick PDs, I used to have them give me shit everywhere I worked. And I used to look at them. I'd cross my eyes. I'd say, I think I'm going to poop my pants. I need to go to the toilet when I was in their offices. I hated all of them. The only guy I respected, two of them were Mark Chernoff and Eric Spitz. That's it. And I worked for 50 of them, and most of them are fucking losers. Listen, I'm just telling it like it is. If I had a bunch of guys that I was so respectful of, I would tell you, but I don't, because not one of them ever made me better. They just were a pain in my asshole.
No, I totally get that. And I worked in New York radio. I worked at 77 WABC for 4 years.
Great station. I was there when I used to go in there with Hannity at night, and I was doing ESPN with 1050 when it was AM, and I was 7 to midnight, and I was on with like Don LaGreca was doing it with me, the Devils play-by-play boy. So that's a great station, right? And Sid Rosenberg, who I did shows with, they put us together one Saturday night. And that was all it took to scare them away from the two of us together on the radio. We were a great show, and we would have made millions, and we would have killed everyone in the ratings. But they didn't have the balls to do it because they literally are all fucking morons. They fucking ruin everything, and they don't want to do anything that's outside the box that's crazy. Like, I tried to work with Sid and make it happen, and Sid's huge now, and he's doing great, and I'm happy for him. But can you imagine Sid Rosenberg and I doing a fucking 4-hour show together? The money that they would have fucking made. They're so stupid.
It would be so huge. And that's why they have, I think they have Kumia on Sunday nights now, I think.
He's another one that Opie and Anthony was another Mel hire, and just great. When I did mornings and they did afternoons, that was the greatest radio station I was ever on. They fucked that up when the station shut down when they had the Sex for Sam at the St. Patrick's Cathedral. The guy did his wife on the Day of Atonement in the ass in front of 200 parishioners. I thought it was really funny, and nobody else thought it was funny, and neither did the city of New York. And then they fired all of us. I was in bed when they fired me. I said, what did I do? And the guy goes, you're friends with him. Fuck off. And he hung up on me and fired me. And they owed me $250,000 at the time. And I never got a penny of it. In fact, I got a letter from them one day. They said, go ahead and sue us, CBS, see how you do.
Wow.
Damn.
Well, this was fun. I know you got to run because you said you had to go. But
this was like an orgasm.
Amazing. No, I enjoy it.
This was amazing.
Coming on.
I am sweating, so that's a good sign. You guys got me to I'm sweating. And then I still have to do a show tonight at 6:30. So I usually don't do it, but I know you guys are doing a really cool show, and I'm fans of what you're doing, and I support what you're doing. Keep doing your thing, and keep getting bigger and better, and don't listen to anybody. Don't let anybody tell you how to do what you guys are doing, because what you're doing is kick ass. And you want to just promote your Profit company one more time? Yes, Profitable, PROPHETABLE, profitable.tv. We got Pharrell and the Profit Podcast, Pharrell Unplugged. It's a really cool app. Those shows are free. The community's really cool. It's a lot like actual people, but they're all talking about betting. It's not about other shit. It's about betting and all the big games and how to, what they're playing, what they're betting, how they're betting. And it's just a great app. I've had it going for like 3.5 years. And, it was PharrellOnEvents.com before that. Now it's turned into this great app. I do it with my friend Mickey, the Prophet, Mickey Faust. He's a funny Jew. I love him. He's the best dude ever. He's funny as shit. And we have a blast. And we don't work for anyone. And for the first time in my career, after all these years, I'm fucking finally free of dorks and dickheads and losers. I just have nothing to do with it. And then this is the first Super Bowl I haven't been at in 30 years. I went to 30 straight years of Radio Row, and I've never been around so many fucking tools and losers in my life. It is an assembly of fucking assholes and idiots. And they give credentials to anyone. You could be a homeless bum with a fucking bottle of scotch, and they'll give you a fucking table and a show. And it's embarrassing. It used to be real media, real credentialed media that covered the NFL. I've traveled with the Steelers every game for 3 years. I've covered the league for years and years, and now it's turned into a fucking wet, bloody abortion.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
But other than that, God bless.
Scott, thanks
Thank you,
for being
Scott,
on
so
with us.
much. We appreciate you, brother.
I
Have a
love
great rest
you
of your
guys.
day.
Be cool. Keep it up.
Okay.
Thank you
you.
much. Oh, baby.
right.
That was incredible. Scott Farrell just leaving the show here on Press Row. As we now get into hour 3. I mean, I said on Twitter, Nick, when he came in, man, the gloves came off and he was bringing the heat, baby.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because
Oh, we have time. Yes.
that was everything I expected. Everything. I was expecting personality, flair, funny stories, edgy, which I like, by the way. I like when people are edgy on air because it adds to some of the flair. I don't know. Were you a little edgy-ish? A little?
I mean, a little bit, but I think, though, Nick, it also, in a way, kind of like really, can we say, kind of exposed like how how the radio market has changed over the last several years.
What did I tell you? He was going to come on here and tell you that it is. I love him. I think he's great.
Oh, he's tremendous. What a guy.
We've both listened to him for years. Like, he's what made radio the entertainment part of radio, where I feel like, and he said it, like, everyone thinks they know gambling.
Especially nowadays.
I'm a perfect gambler. And he said it perfectly. I might have a really big success rate, but I also have bad days too. That's an honest gambling creator.
That's
right
how you
there.
know they've been in the space for a long time, if they're doing that or saying that sort of thing.
Well, you could be in the space a long time and still be a liar, but he gets it. I love his stories. I love the Stern stories. And you heard me ask him if it wasn't for the suits at Sirius. And he even said, I didn't know that, by the way. He said that they were trying to throw him on Mad Dog's channel. That's the one I interned for, by the way.
Yeah.
And I like Mad Dog. Don't get me wrong. But that wouldn't have been a good fit.
By the way, it was even better when Scott joined. Our numbers have shot up the roof, though, to 109 live viewers.
Well, what did you expect? He's a legend. Like, by the way, if you missed that interview in its entirety, that will definitely be up. I promise you, as quick as I can after the show is over. By the way, he was more than generous sitting past 4:00 with us because he didn't have to.
No, and that was awesome. And as a reminder, though, gang, once more, Brandon Towers is coming up at about roughly 2:00 Pacific time, 5 Eastern, talking all things Nick, Playback TV.
Yeah, and by the way, like, first of all, appreciative of the compliments, by the way, from him. Also,
1,000%.
a lot of the guys have been very nice to us over the past month or two since
4
we
weeks.
started the new year. And you know what? We need to show that interview to some people, like in the business, and say, "Hey, we're here. Look what we just did."
Hi. Hello.
Like, Scott is an incredible guy. I think to this day, he was still the best show on CBS Sports Radio Infinity. And what he only mentioned it slightly. I just want to bring it up so people actually understand. He's all about helping his people. Yeah, you heard him say that. Like,
Yes.
Shep worked with him for a very long time when the network started. That's why, like, originally when I wrote him down as a producer host, he only was a host for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Because then he took on the gig at Sirius, where he is now. But he started as a Pharrell guy at Stern, which that's an interesting place to start as an intern. By the way, I like when people get a little uncensored. It's part of the game. First of all, this never would have flown on real radio.
Oh, hell no.
Can you imagine the amount of like? I think we would have broken the censor button at a radio station. Like, by the way, I freaking hate the FCC regulations. I state that for a fact. I understand them. I know how they work. I know certain words you can say and not say and get around it. And you saw right away, he knew what I said. Like when I worked at WABC, like, by the way, that story is true.
They got a $55,000 fine.
Who did?
Scott Farrell, I think, got a $55,000 fine from the FCC.
Right, but when he was on satellite, there's no FCC because
Yeah.
you can't regulate a satellite. But him and Sid almost did a show together.
So close yet so far.
And now, would there have been a lot of FCC regulation issues involved in that show? Possibly.
Yes.
But I do think the FCC regulations are a little stringent, a little tight.
Mhm. Yes.
Like, is anyone really going to get offended by curse words on the air?
You wouldn't think, right?
Now, I took a media law class when I was at LIU, and there's like these rules that, like, I forgot what they call it. It's like a leniency time at night
Yes.
where, like, from I think it's like 10 p.m. on, I think you technically can get away with more things. And I forgot to ask him this question. I wish I did. But he was on from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that was strategically because of the way he did his show,
Mhm.
or if that was the slot that was open at the time. Because if it was strategically, that would have made sense
Correct.
because of his great personality, wild personality. We never got,
Rockstar personality.
he kind of answered that, by the way. So you kind of got lucky that he answered that. But that was the best interview to date so far that we've done. And don't get me wrong. Everybody who's given us their time, we appreciate in every way, shape, or form. And the goal of these interviews and this show is to show you how the industry works and where it can grow and expand in different directions. And Pharrell is a great case study because he started when radio was like
Booming.
top of the ladder. He told you he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, making great radio. And he was doing gambling before gambling was what it was today, which is obsessive.
Yeah, as I said in my question, now we got Polymarket and Kalshi and all that stuff now.
I thought his answer was spot on, by the way, about
1000%.
prediction markets and how they're kind of just like fake. Like, what was the word that he said? He just said it's like they're like cover-ups
Yes.
in a sense. And I'm like, wow, like this guy is great because he knows his shit, and it's unbelievable. All right, let's try to bring the level down a little bit. And where are we? Because now I'm totally lost on our.
We are now, Nick, going to talk some sales or a sale of a certain team in the Super Bowl and Peacock getting the bill. But Peacock, Nick, per reports, has reported quarterly losses of a staggering $552 million, driven by the start of their $2.5 billion per year NBA right payments. Despite the loss, subscribers grew to 44 million. But on the other side of the ledger, though, Nick, Seth Wickersham reports that the Seahawks will go up for sale after the game on Sunday with a expected price floor of over $7 billion. A record for a NFL franchise. So, Nick, two-pronged question. Can the streaming model ever turn a profit when the content costs, like the NBA, are rising at a rate that outpaces subscriber growth by nearly 50%? For the Peacock question.
So here's the problem. You could form this question for any league. The NFL, I don't know if you heard this report, that they want to already renegotiate.
Which I find to be interesting after they got the stake of ESPN.
No, but aren't they only 1 year or 2 years into the new deal they signed?
Maybe a year?
I'm going to look that up, but it's very new. I'll tell you that. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Okay. The NFL's current 11-year deal runs through 33. So that means it was in 22.
Jeez.
So what is that? So we're in the 4th year of that deal?
Already.
That's crazy that they want to. Well, maybe it's not crazy. They're approaching halfway. And a lot of times, now here's the issue. Way back when you signed a contract in this business, you weren't thinking about if you signed a 5-year deal. Well, you signed longer term deals in radio and TV back then. Now you're signing 1 to 2 year deals if you're lucky. But you weren't thinking about, I have a 4-year contract. 2 years, the market changed, the media changed, my following is up 20%. We weren't thinking this stuff.
No.
Now, it's like every year, Like you have influencers who are big content creators who work for these companies and say, my following's up 20%. I got you a bunch of sales. I did this. I did that. I go to all these events, blah, blah, blah. Give me a raise.
Yeah.
So that's the issue here, which is all the prices for the league contracts are going to go up.
They are.
But the issue is, if you're going to fight like this, like to renegotiate constantly, then you should just do it year by year. If you're going to keep now legal in a financial sense, that makes no sense for the leagues. But they should start putting into their clauses, if they were smart in the league side, not for the fans, that we have the right to check the numbers at the end of the year to see if we want to renegotiate. But you know how annoying that would get year after year?
It already seems like it's already annoying is that they're going to go back to the table like after the season concludes.
You signed an 11-year deal, and I have the number here. 11 years, $111 billion for the NFL.
What?
Yeah. Let me say that again. The NFL's current 11-year, $111 billion deal. What? It started in 22 and ends in 33. What? Deals with Amazon, CBS, ESPN, ABC, Fox, and NBC. So just keep that in mind. And actually, there's some other notes here that they actually put up. The NFL is anticipated to exercise its right to opt out of these contracts after the 2029 season to renegotiate for higher current market value. Now, I'm trying to do the math in my head because I can't do it currently, but
I agree with Christy. What?
I'm trying to do quick math in my head here. So that means that they're making $10 billion a year over 11 years right now in its current structure. What? And that doesn't include all the money that they get on the bottom line with all the other stuff that they do.
Right.
So, but they're talking about renegotiating next year. If they don't have an opt-out, how can they do that?
Yeah, that is kind of weird, though. And, I mean, obviously, Nick, and we'll talk to Brandon at the top of the hour about us being able to watch the NBA on Peacock and NBC in a little bit here in about roughly 40 minutes, probably at the top of the hour. But, Nick, I mean, I'm not surprised, though, that there's already been quarterly losses of that much money when you're beginning to pay this exuberant right payment of $2.5 billion.
I think they overpaid.
I think they overpaid, too.
I want to now that's the next one I want to check. NBA on NBC.
I think they signed theirs for what, $77 billion, I want to say.
Well, that's the full one. I just want to look up the NBC because we're talking Peacock. But so NBC Universal has an 11-year, $2.5 billion per year. Meaning what? That means that adds up to 11 years, $27.5 billion.
Oh my God!
I mean, like, that's a lot of money. And I thought Amazon's deal with the NFL, which was 11 years, $11 billion,
You thought that was bad.
Well, at the time, it was the record contract.
Right.
But how the hell did the NBA pull off a 11-year, $27.5 billion total media rights deal? What? So it says, with the NBA, marking the return of NBA on NBC starting with this season through 35-36 season. The deal includes 100 regular season games annually, exclusive playoff games, the All-Star game, shared between NBC and Peacock. NBC will air 100 regular season games, including Tuesday night coast to coast doubleheaders, and a Sunday night package, which has now started. The Caitlin Clark thing was interesting.
It was.
It brought them a lot of numbers.
It did.
But the problem is that's not sustainable, because eventually, if we think the W is going to come back, that's not going to be sustainable.
Correct.
So if you want my answer right now, that deal is not sustainable.
I don't see it being sustainable either, especially if the rights payment is, or if the losses are more than the subscribers growing. Again, they only got 44 million new subscribers. That's it. They would probably have to double or triple production of subscribers to be able to probably make up any sort of lost ground.
Well, okay, let's look up a different number. Let's look up what a Peacock subscription is worth, because that'll tell you what the math needs to be. Because, all right, let's see. Peacock subscription. So you need the premium tier to watch NBA games. So that's going to be either $11 a month or $110 a year. There's no way they're going to reach that 2.5 billion a year to be sustainable.
No way.
Unless the thought process was, we're buying all these rights. Look at the amount of rights NBC has coming up.
Super Bowl, Olympics,
right after one another.
NBA,
MLB,
college.
They have horse racing, I think, also.
Horse racing, the dog show.
I mean, the dog show probably doesn't make them a lot of money, but I'm just talking about like professionally, like back to back to back to back. Like,
that's why they're calling it Legendary February.
And also, remember, you have to pay Lenny Kravitz for the intro, which, by the way, great, good job. That was a custom song, though, right? That they made.
Yeah, it's a mashup of A Little Less Conversation by Elvis and Lust for Life by Iggy Pop / Are You Gonna Be My Girl by Jet.
I don't think I've ever seen a mix song do the intro. Have you?
No, just whatever Carrie Underwood's been doing for 20 years?
No, but hey, it works. People watch it, right? I mean, by the way, she makes $1 million a game doing that.
I know, who would have thunk that?
I mean, I thought it was a lot when Vanna White was making $1 million a year turning letters originally, but
and never wearing the same dress on Wheel of Fortune either.
That's another one I want to look up really quick. Sorry, I'm kind of vamping slightly.
Don't worry, we're killing time, folks. Again, we'll have Brandon Towers joining the show at the top of the hour at 2:00 Pacific, 5:00 Eastern to talk all things our old home of Playback TV.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize it was that much. She's making $10 million annually now. What? Okay, but do you remember what happened though? That she almost left the show.
Other than the fact that Pat Sajak retired.
No. When the price dispute came up, remember when Pat was making a lot more than Vanna was, and there was a whole dispute that she was going to leave unless it was a more fair. Because the two of them were on the show she still is, but
yep.
It says she earned previously $3 million per year, which, by the way, no slouch. By the way, just to turn letters.
Or touch them now because everything's virtual now.
Do you remember the old days?
Yes. She had to actually, it was like a revolving door. Yes.
Those were, and then I remember when it first started, the green board, and I had a friend who was a game show, aholic. Like he knew everything about, he was on Wheel of Fortune as a contestant, actually. He said that there's like a sensor. You're not actually hitting the screen. But it's not even touching it. It's like because it's so far away, it looks like she's hitting it, but she's not. But it's actually just a sensory thing. Like you put your hand near it, so it looks like she's hitting it, but then it turns the letter. I don't know how they do it though. When they have to know quickly when they call the letter out which ones to pop up, so she knows where to walk.
That's why I'm sure sometimes whenever you hear the contestant give a correct guess, she's already beginning to walk across the stage.
Unless she's wearing an earpiece that's
probably is.
Which I don't blame her. It's tough to know where to
I'm
go.
sure Ryan Seacrest probably has one in his ear too to hear the producers.
Well, yeah, he does because he's the host. He would have to. But I'm saying just, and I know she gets poo-pooed on because, oh well, if all I had to do was stand up and pop letters for a living, I'd do it. Well, you have to remember you're in front of TV. It's a lot of pressure. Now they tape those. Do you?
Yeah,
I remember also, and sorry, I'm going off on a nerdy game show rant, but you know they used to record like 10 or 15 or 20 episodes in a sitting.
Yeah.
My friend told me,
I think the Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal still do that, I think.
yeah, Price is Right absolutely does that. My friend said that he was not the first set, so he had to sit, but you all have to come in the morning, even if you're the third set of shows. I don't know. I guess
gotta
maybe
be
in
in.
case something happens, or I guess they can move people up or whatever. But he said he sat in that room for hours. He said it's the price of being a contestant. You want to be on the show, you follow the rules of the show. I was like, all right, I guess that's how that works. I guess.
Nick, how about the Seahawks? I mean, we obviously, I think, talked a while back about the sale of the franchise, or the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers, I should say, earlier on in the season. Obviously, we talked on Sunday, I believe, about the fact that Paul Allen's name popped up in the Epstein files, allegedly him doing business with Mr. Epstein in some capacity.
He wanted to meet the owner of Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that, though. I mean, a $7 billion price tag, though, for a team, though, Nick, who has been probably one of the most successfully run franchises the last 15 years, probably, if not longer.
I mean, they won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, ironically, who just got fired from the Raiders. Seattle's not a bad area.
Beautiful,
they got
beautiful city, great fan base.
nice stadium, large stadium. There's definitely value, and now they're a good team again. And if they win the Super Bowl, I think that helps them more.
Right.
Am I surprised at the price? No. I mean, that does sound high for an NFL franchise, but I mean, I can look that up. I don't know if I can really find.
I think the last major sale was probably either what I'm going to guess the Washington, maybe the Broncos,
the Commanders. No, you might be right. It might be the Broncos to the Walgreens family, right?
the Walmart family.
Walmart family, which has a lot of money by themselves.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Official team valuations for 2025. So 11 NFL teams are valued at $8 billion or more. The Dallas Cowboys are worth $12.5 billion. What?
How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys?
Thank you, Tom Albano.
The Cowboys also posted the highest revenue in the NFL at $1.27 billion. The Rams are valued at $10.7 billion.
What? I can believe that.
Let's see who else we got. But these numbers are wild. That your top two teams are in the tens of billions.
I mean, we'll look at the stake that the Lakers sold.
The NBA is a different animal.
I know. I'm just still though.
No, I agree with you. The Cowboys being worth $12 billion is not surprising to me. No, fair, totally fair, because the Cowboys are the brand. They're America's team.
America's team.
Even though I think that's the most redundant, ridiculous thing in the entire world.
I mean, people said that too about the '90s Braves, though, too, because they were always on TBS.
That's true. Oh, always funny.
Yeah, TBS, always funny.
But when's the last time they won a freaking Super Bowl? 96. But they still valued at 12. Yes, but they're still worth $12.5 billion.
Yeah, 30 years of waiting.
Oh, I'm tired of Jerry. I wish Jerry would leave the league. No, you're going to have to carry me out of here.
Oh, okay, old man.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? The Cowboys are worth $12 billion.
Yes. That's great. All right, Nick, let's get to some more women's sports talk today. Both good and bad news for this segment here before we get to press clippings, and eventually we'll get to Brandon Towers at the top of the hour. Nick, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl is now launching the first of its kind National D1 Women's Flag Football Tournament coming up in mid-April, the 18th and 19th. On the flip side, though, Nick, San Diego State University has now agreed to pay $300,000 to former female athletes and $1.3 million in legal fees to settle a suit over unequal athletic aid, mainly with the discontinuation of the women's rowing team during COVID, which marks the first monetary recovery in Title IX history for this type of case. Nick, the main question here, though, is now that SDSU has opened up the door for back pay settlements, should every Power 4 AD be looking at their Title IX books with a sense of dread now after what has gone down?
So you and I had talked about this last night. Every case is different.
Yes.
Okay. So it depends on, I guess, the sport, as horrible as that sounds. Not that I would say that, but that's just the facts, the reality.
Yes.
Now there's many factors that come into play, because you said COVID and all that stuff, and
that was during the time, by the way, that a lot of the schools, SDSU, Stanford, Minnesota, a lot of universities began to cut programs that weren't making revenue because of where the COVID books became, though, when it came to finances.
Just admit it. The programs couldn't make any money. They were in the red,
Exactly.
so they had to get rid of them. Like that's not a. I mean, is it bad? Yeah, but they have to do what keeps the. They have to keep the school running. So if the program's not making any money, unfortunately, something's got to give. And if sports is a lot of times on campuses, even small ones, the sports is the most expensive thing.
Yes.
I hate saying it, but it's just the fact. Now, I said to you last night that it all depends on if one case wins.
Yes.
Then you're going to see. Now, just because one case wins does not mean other ones are going to win. But you have a history now. If one does win, you're going to see others that are going to come forward. It's like a game of leapfrog, where if somebody does it, then the next person will jump ahead of you, and then the next person will jump ahead of that. And then they build a huge line of cases where, oh, well, maybe we do have a Title IX issue here, and maybe we got to fix this.
Yeah, and that's kind of been like the long-standing argument when it comes to Title IX, though. And then, Nick, you have the other side of the story, though. Very cool initiative here by the Fiesta Bowl board, and I believe the company or agency who runs the Fiesta Bowl, first of its kind national D1 women's flag football tournament coming to, I'm going to assume, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, the site of the game in April, the 18th and 19th. Nick, I think we talked, though, a few weeks ago that there are now some schools now that are adding this sport to their artillery, and I believe that Nebraska just offered, I think, a huge NIL contract or payment to, I think, like a 5-star women's flag football quarterback to play for Nebraska this upcoming season or spring or what have you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do some informational look just to see what they're saying about it, but there's not very many outlets that are covering this story. Like,
yeah, except for us.
I would have thought it would have had some more legs. It's a 7-on-7 tournament. You said it's like a bracket, right? It's going to feature teams.
I believe so. I don't know if I've seen a format, but I know that it's 8-team ordeal.
Well, Arizona Sports, which is 98.7 out in Arizona.
WNBPA, yes.
Yeah, they're saying it's a 7-on-7 tournament. So it's going to be 7 players. Will feature 8 teams, including the Sun Devils, on April 18th to 19th. ASU will be joined in the first of its kind competition by Grand Canyon, Alabama State, Charlotte, UCF, USC, Georgia, and Florida.
It's a pretty good mix of schools.
Now, flag football has picked up some popularity, strangely.
It is now, I believe now, at least in California high schools, it is now a sponsored sport by the CIF.
See, that I didn't know, because I've never heard that here in New York. But the tournament format will be 3 games of pool play before a playoff bracket and single game elimination determines the winner. So that's the tournament format. More than 2.5 million women are competing at the college and high school level across the U.S., according to this release. The NCAA has recognized this growth spurt by hailing women's flag football as an emerging sport, as more than 150 schools and nearly 60 Division I institutions offer the sport at the club or varsity level.
And now it's becoming more and more of a varsity sport as opposed to it being a club ordeal finally.
And it says Nebraska became the first Power 4 conference school to offer scholarships for the sports athletes. McKenna Cook of California was the first girl to be offered such a scholarship by Cornhuskers football coach Matt Rule.
Yes. That video, I think, was shared by ESPN, I want to say.
The 2028 Los Angeles Olympics will feature men's and women's flag football for the first time on an Olympic stage, with games hosted at Exposition Stadium,
which is BMO Stadium, home of LAFC and Angel City FC of MLS and the NWSL.
Yes. I mean, that's great. I think that's great that they want to get behind it. And do I think it'll hold up in the long term as a scholarship sport? It's a little too early to tell.
Way too early to tell. And I think we even said, though, Nick, too, that there was a story, I think, a month or so ago that the Jets were, I think, investing a bunch of money into getting flag football into it being a big thing in the upper Northeast.
I think it was like their thing, like they're helping a league or their ownership in a league. I mean, I could look that up really quick, too. But I think it was women's flag football, though, they were helping, right?
Yes. Women's and girls flag football, I believe, yes.
New York Jets invested heavily in flag football, especially targeting girls programs through $1 million donation to ECAC. Whatever ECAC is.
Okay.
Let's see. The Betty Wold Johnson Foundation, directed by owner Woody Johnson, founded the new ECAC Women's Flag Football League involving 15 Northeast universities.
15 is pretty damn good already, though.
The team launched, the Jets Flag Elite. The team launched an official girls 14 under travel team and elite teams for the 25-26 season. The Jets provided annual funding $50,000 plus for the PSAL girls varsity flag football team in New York City, which has grown to nearly 60 schools and support the Champs Middle School League. The Jets formed the first ever NFL girls flag league in Ireland.
Interesting.
And participants in their supported leagues receive free NFL flag jerseys.
So they're trying to grow the game in some capacity overseas, though, too, which is good.
I just don't know what ECAC is. Oh, Eastern College Athletic Conference.
Yes.
Okay. I wish they would just spell it out instead of just saying ECAC or WEC. Or it sounds like you're
something.
It sounds like you're punching somebody or hitting somebody in the face. ECAC, WEC.
Yeah, it's like comic book sound effects.
That's what it feels like. Can we just say the names? Like Pac-12, I get it because it's the Pacific Atlantic. What is it? Pacific Atlantic Coast League.
No, the Pac-12 is the Pacific 12, and then you have the Atlantic Coast Conference. Yeah.
So, I understand why Pac-12 is shortened because sometimes it's hard to say, but come on, you really have to shorten the other ones. All right, what else do we have in this situation currently? I mean, I don't know. Could these leagues work functionally? Sure, they could, but it's too early in the beginning processes to know what if these are going to work out, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of, I think, wait and see. I would call it probably. I mean, I'll be probably more eager to see though how it will fare after 28 in Los Angeles, to be very honest, because I think that'll be like not a turning point or a fork in the road, but I think the 28 Olympics will probably hinder, or that maybe how well the product is run will hinder on how the Olympic Games go. Yes. Dog.
Yes. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. We have some time to kill for Brandon Towers, formerly of Playback TV, joins us. I guess we could talk about more of what's coming up this weekend.
I mean, how about we hold that thought and we can get to press clippings first before we get to Brandon's interview. Let's start, though, Nick. Joe Rogan refused to enter his podcast for the Golden Globes because they were charging a submission fee of $500.
Damn it, I wasn't ready. Since when do you have to pay to earn an award? Explain that one to me.
It's so stupid. I don't understand that.
Well, the Golden Globes had a podcast award this
We
year.
talked about that because I think Big Cat of Barstool sounded off about it last week or the week prior.
Well, yeah, because Pardon My Take didn't win the award. They gave it to
Amy Poehler's podcast.
who's barely been a podcaster. Good hang with Amy Poehler. You tell me Pardon My Take doesn't deserve to be the best sports podcast or podcast?
Nobody likes David Portnoy.
Fucking Hollywood. I almost said Hollywood. They act like Hollywood.
They do all the time.
All right. Terry Rozier's arbitration win. An arbitrator ruled the Heat guard is owed his salary despite a federal gambling indictment, which means he's going to make close to $27 million this year.
And this is like the only time, Nick, we've heard any sort of follow-up to the scandal when it broke out back in October.
Now, I did read that technically by legal loophole, unless it was a child abuse or a physical abuse, they can't hold his money.
Right.
That's wild, right?
That is pretty wild.
Oh, by the way, there was another interesting three-way trade in the NBA. The Clippers, the Nets, and the Raptors have agreed on a multi-team trade, sending Chris Paul to the Raptors.
Wow.
And Ochai Agbaji, a 2032 Raptors second rounder, and cash to the Nets. What do the Clippers get? Okay. I'm not even going to try to make sense of that.
More importantly, Toronto has said that Chris Paul was not even, they are not going to require him to even show up either.
Lonzo Ball got traded. He got traded to the Jazz.
Wow.
Wait a minute. That team's becoming a juggernaut now.
Apparently so.
Wait a minute. So they traded for Jaren Jackson Jr.,
Lonzo Ball.
Have they traded for anything else?
I don't think so yet.
The Hawks are requiring center Jock Landale from the Jazz. Okay, so they are making some trades. The Raptors will not require Chris Paul to report to the team. They could still discuss trades involving him over the next day. Toronto is now out of the tax.
Oh, interesting.
Brooklyn picks up an asset and cash to cover Agbaji's salary. The Clippers clear a roster spot and save $7 million in tax.
Yay.
Is that supposed to be interesting?
Apparently so. Anything else that's worth noting?
According to Bobby Marks, the Mavericks now have the resources, starting with a likely lottery pick and a late first, and financial roster resources to build their roster around Cooper Flagg. This is stunning. Whoa. Dallas has $150 million in guaranteed money next year. Well below the tax and apron.
Yeah, I think they're way clear of both of those, I think.
For this season, Dallas drops below the luxury tax in both aprons. They have flexibility in the next 24 hours to continue building up their draft assets if they choose to.
Sheesh.
They're going to have they're going to be up there as one of the teams that have the most money to spend in free agency. Tomorrow is going to be insane because the
deadline, yeah.
Deadline is in now less than 24 hours.
Yep.
But Lonzo Ball, what do you think LeVar is thinking right now? Damn it, my son got traded to Utah.
Nothing's open after 10 in the evening.
What am I supposed to do now? I used to be in
skiing.
LA. I used to be in LA, but I effed that one up.
Yeah, well, it's his own fault.
All right, let's get back to the press clippings list. Cameron Brink's Playboy comment. The Sparks star, says she consider it, but needs the fiance's approval.
Okay.
I don't have the skills to have an opinion on this.
I'm shocked Playboy's still even in business, honestly, to be very frank.
Are they?
I have no idea.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
I don't know how to react.
I don't
But-
know either.
I'll tell you the one thing I did say last night, which is this WNBA player's desperate attempt to do something, make money, do something. Brand.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we kind of talked, and we'll talk about David Sampson again here in about a minute or two because he's in our last press clipping here about his comments on LIV. But, even Nick, we had long thought. I think David even said it very well, though, too, last week or the week prior on the show, is that now you got to find out where you're going to be. Unrivaled, Players or Athletes Unlimited, Project B. Who knows?
And I'm trying to be careful with this comment.
Television.
I'm trying to be careful with this comment because I don't want it to sound like shaming, but like, why Playboy?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to be mean. You can go do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm just questioning why that choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the choice I don't understand. Now, could she make a lot of money doing it? Probably. And would I shame her if she made a lot of money doing it? No. The only reason I shame Angel Reese is because she was doing it during the season when they were playing basketball. That's the only reason why I shamed her. If you're doing it in the off season, do you? Because you're not playing ball at that point. Do whatever you want.
I mean, before the drug suspension, we talked about how Paul George even said, nope, got to give it up. I'm not healthy. Team's not playing well. We don't have to do it right now. This can wait till the off season.
Well, who knows if he might have a lot of time to do podcasting now.
Yeah, 25-game suspension for the drug violation.
And final press clipping. Live Golf's payoff problem. David Sampson claims Saudi backers are finally realizing the ROI just isn't there.
I'm a dumbass. I'm a dumbass.
I mean, we have been kind of talking about that, that the Saudi fund could be worth what, $2 trillion pretty soon.
So I'm going to look this up again just because I don't feel like getting bow and arrows in the back of my back.
Bow and arrows? Who even uses bow and arrows anymore?
I don't know. You know what I meant.
Unless you're a Skyrim player and you take arrows to the knee.
Well, don't they do bow and arrow or archery at the Olympics?
Yes, they do. They actually train here in San Diego at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista.
Wasn't it Family Guy who made a joke out of it, like using roller skating and archery together? Please tell me that's not a real thing.
No, the biathlon's kind of close, but you're shooting a rifle at targets, and then you have to ski to the next one.
Okay, but at least you're not doing them together.
Correct.
Family Guy made like a really insane joke, like where Meg was skating and having to shoot archery at the same time, and I was like, that doesn't seem
That
very.
sounds like something out of the movie Basketball.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Great movie.
We should talk about classic movies sometime on like sports movies. There's the next benchmarks idea.
Yes.
Every time.
We already have that in the books. It's going to be called Cut to the Bench.
Damn it. Every time we're on a show, there's always more. Okay.
But wait, there's more.
Saudi's public interest fund is reported around $925 billion to $940 billion in late 2025, early 26, making it one of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds, with plans to grow towards $2 trillion by 2030.
Jesus.
That's a lot of money. That's a sick load of. I can't even
We would be like Mr. Krabs taking a bath in dollars or dollar bills and change.
Do you remember the episode where, what was it? His friend, who's a big hedge fund type guy,
Yes.
comes back to buy the Krusty Krab, and he says, "You won't get me to sell it." And then he opens up one case. He said, "You're gonna have to do a lot better than that." And he's like, "Look at there, holy King Neptune!" And he sees the big boat.
Yes.
With all the suitcases in it. That's what the Saudi Public Interest Fund reminds me of, where it's just endless piles of money. But I don't know if you saw the reports though that Liv is knocking down its bonus pool.
Yes.
So originally, what it was 18 million. Now it's 6 million.
Yes.
Gee, someone finally got smart that they don't have to waste all that money, right?
It's a miracle.
You do realize that they probably overpaid every person. They're treating it like baseball contracts. Liv.
I mean, they pretty much are. And I think the main thing that we've also talked about the last couple of weeks, though, has also been now the defectors are now coming back to the PGA kind of, with hands out begging for mercy.
But you do realize, though, that they're probably realizing, oh, there's no money to be made.
Yeah.
But
they got their initial money, but now nothing further.
Right. But here's the problem with that model. You're being paid up front.
Yeah.
So why do you care if Liv is making money?
Yeah, I mean, why would you care when you should, like in that state, in that circumstance, who cares about the corporation? Worry about yourself.
Because, and I'll look this up quickly because Brandon's going to join us in a couple minutes, but I want to look up Liv golf contracts. Okay.
I think John Rahm's at what, $800 million?
So
we know that they offered Tiger about $900 million or
$800 million.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 8 and 9. But so Rahm is leading. I don't know why they're saying between 300 million and 600 million. Oh, because he's got team ownership. I forgot that they did that in Liv, that it's not just individual golf you get paid for. Now you can
almost like unrivaled, though, too, I think.
True. But that's a big gap between 300 million and 600 million.
That is a lot.
Other top contracts include Phil Mickelson, who might be in some legal trouble, allegedly.
Yeah.
Which that wouldn't be the first time he was in legal trouble.
Exactly.
Brooks Koepka, who I think just played his first event, right?
Yep, just played his first event at Torrey Pines.
Dustin Johnson. Was he? He's on the DP tour now, right?
No, I don't think so.
Who was the one that came back? That's coming back in 27.
Patrick Reed.
That's right. And then you had DeChambeau, who's the cockiest one of them all. He was the one who said,
I don't need the tour. I'm just going to go and do demos on YouTube.
Now, 2.5 million subscribers is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
but,
not at all.
But I hate how cocky he is as a golfer.
Yeah, and I recall that him and Koepka had a pretty big beef at one point when they were on the tour because I think Koepka got ticked off by the slow pace that he would play at. Like, bro, we got to get moving here.
Like, dude, you make money up front. Why do you care how it's being done?
Yeah, like, why bother? Yes, I'm doing my best Kirk Herbstreit impersonation. You're welcome, everybody.
I don't know. Some of these golfers are greedy pigs, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, though, stems from the whole PGA LIV nonsense that's been going on for the last several years.
Yeah, I mean, what was Sampson's comment again? It was
that the return on the investment now for the Saudis might be going down the shitter.
The problem is, how do you judge that? Because
right,
oil money.
It's oil money, exactly.
And then they're adjusting to different forms of oil now.
Yes.
Where it's gonna be worth $2 trillion.
With a T, trillion.
How do you? That's more than any NFL owner.
Yeah.
Period.
Period in a story.
That's more than a couple of owners by themselves. That's scary that a public interest fund can be worth $1 trillion, $2 trillion.
Scary stuff.
And the amount of stuff that's in that portfolio too.
Zuffa Boxing.
Oh, right. Zuffa's in there. I think UFC and WWE do some stuff with them.
They go to Saudi. They were just in Saudi Arabia for the Royal Rumble last Saturday.
And that guy, Turk El Sheikh, is a bad man.
Yes.
By the way. Like, allegedly, like,
human rights issues. Yeah.
Killed people or had people killed. And Dana hangs around with him. Like, don't think that's such a good idea. Just saying.
I agree.
I don't know. Oh, We got a story here from Front Office Sports. The San Jose Sharks have announced $425 million in planned renovations to the SAP Center.
I think we talked about that a few months ago, and I think they also re-signed the lease till 2031.
So it says a larger team store footprint, wider concourses throughout the arena, additional lower bowl seating, and upgraded newly built luxury suites. Okay. Do you really need to make the luxury suites bigger?
I guess. I have no idea.
You're taking seats away. Well, it's time.
It is time.
You want to introduce away?
All right, my friends, the moment I think a lot of us have been waiting for. One of the best in the business and one of our great friends from Playback TV is joining us here today, folks. The one, the only, the incomparable Brandon Towers. You remember him very well, folks, as the former director of strategic partnerships for Playback TV. B-Tal, thank you so much for the time, my man. We appreciate you here for the next half an hour. How you doing today?
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me. Glad to be making my press row debut here today.
Yes.
For a fact. So it should be fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
So I guess let's just get right into it. Obviously, December 12th, 6 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, the last minute.
RIP, right?
Yes. Can you kind of go through, because we talked to some of the Playback people, so they might be watching too, just so they have an idea of what's going on. So can you kind of walk us through kind of the last couple weeks of what happened, or the last month or two, what happened with Playback?
Yeah. So I think just to start to kind of give a little perspective here as to how, like, what colored the last couple of weeks. It really wasn't just necessarily about the last couple of weeks. And not only that, I think there are still a lot of moving pieces about how sort of like, the Playback story will end. That's not to say that, like, you should expect the product to come back or anything like that. But I do think based on sort of what I've heard, so for everyone's knowledge, I'm no longer with the organization, but from what I've heard and from what I understand, there's going to be a lot more resources from potentially some larger media organizations put behind some like really key members of the Playback team that I think really, really does lend itself to a future of, potentially there being a version of something like Playback. I don't think it'll look sort of like exactly the same, but a future version of something like that is backed by someone that has some like more media rights or a larger suite of media rights in the sports space. So you can imagine if someone that already has a deal with, the NFL or the UFC or things like that comes in and really puts their resources behind sort of like the team that was at Playback or some of those key personnel that we had over at Playback. I do think that there's definitely some upside for some really, really cool things to come out of this. As it relates to sort of like the last couple weeks at Playback specifically and sort of the challenges we were facing and the questions we had to ask ourselves, I think anyone that's really dealt heavily in or worked in sort of like an early stage startup will probably be able to empathize and understand a little bit more. But yeah, when you sort of work for a venture-backed early stage organization, there are lots of pushes and pulls that you kind of have to navigate. And it's like, you're always trying to make decisions that provide the best balance, right? And so for us working in a space where, and honestly, this was kind of like the most fun part of working for Playback and working sort of on the product and with the team, was working with the community, right? Creators like Empty the Bench, right? All of these amazing content creators that we saw come through Playback. We all sort of shared this vision that, right, this product could be something that really changes, right? Like not just sports media, but live streaming, media consumption, how we think about media into the future. So we kind of got, for better or worse, kind of pegged as like a potential unicorn, for lack of a better way to put it. So we were always charged with this really big vision of dreaming very big, right? And as you guys, I'm sure, are aware of, in the media rights landscape, especially in the sports media rights landscape, it's really hard to pull something like that off. As a matter of fact, like it's why I think, our team is so proud of what we were able to accomplish, because, as far down the road as we made it, we weren't able to completely push it across the finish line. But I think, quite honestly, we made it further than any sort of like really truly like early stage independent sports-based live streaming watch together tool has ever made it, right? And I think that's been evidenced by what we saw after we announced on socials that the platform was shutting down. Like the outpouring of support, the memories that people shared, the reminiscing, right? All of the hours, blood, sweat, and tears that not only our team, but also the creator community put into the product. It was a really emotional time, and it was really cool to see. And it really did validate to me, and hopefully to everyone that used the product, that like, we were onto something, right? And again, just going back to sort of like what's next for some of the key members of the Playback team, as well as whether or not some more like media resources can get put behind this. Hopefully Playback ends up serving as kind of like a major milestone, like a major stepping stone in getting us to that next point. And really what that next point is to me, and really our Playback vision is to consumerize live streaming and media, and sports media specifically, to let all of these talented people that we know are fans of their league, fans of their favorite team, fans of their favorite sport, have tons of knowledge to share, have built communities around these conversations, giving them the tools so that they can readily build a platform, let the cream rise to the top, and not have this sort of gating of voices, was the vision. And I do hope that that vision does get carried on in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, the last couple of weeks there at Playback were pretty crazy. We were trying to basically make a big push to see if we could get another major media partner or make a major breakthrough as far as usage is concerned. And yeah, unfortunately, we fell a little shy of the mark. And for that, like forever, like I will eternally like be grateful to all of the creators on Playback. And again, I've said it, I think it's still my pinned tweet on my Twitter at BTOW806. Like, it kills me that we fell short of the mark. And it kills me because I know of all of the talented creators that were on the platform. And I wanted you guys, right, to see the light at the end of the tunnel more than anything else. So, definitely some lessons learned. And I don't think it's going to be the last of me either that you'll see as far as trying to drive this space forward is concerned. But yeah, I think as it relates to Playback itself, it's we gave it our best run. And so hopefully, again, we can bring this space kind of to the next level as a stepping stone.
Brandon, we obviously were doing a lot of NBA and Major League Baseball. We did some WNBA. And of course, the one night we look forward to, though, was when you guys managed to bring Tony Reale, fresh out of a job at ESPN, for Around the Room, basically the digital version of Around the Horn for, a digital pivot, basically. It had a pretty small but dedicated audience. I think it topped at, 960,000 viewers per the awfulannouncing.com story. But why, though, probably in your opinion, though, did that show not become like a permanent North Star moment for the company? Did the rights holders for ATH step in? Hey, cease and desist orders were given, or maybe the cost of the production simply too high for the return you were seeing after just the one time that you guys were able to pull off that show?
Yeah, I think honestly, it was all kind of a sequencing thing at the end of the day, is kind of what it came down to. And it kind of does tie back to us kind of trailblazing a new product market fit, really taking on this new use case of actually allowing folks to watch together. You learn some lessons in that along the way. I think if we could have, hindsight being 2020, gone back to square one, we probably would have focused more on production tooling, right? Being able to stand up a show like what we were able to do with Around the Room with Tony. But, our initial sort of concept and how we raised those initial funds were really around like the live game and the live watch party. So it does kind of tie back to that like push and pull of, some people really want you to chase this use case and really think that's your unicorn use case. And internally, maybe we think it's something different. And it's always just a conversation that you're having to have. And yeah, I think for me personally, it was my first experience working with a really early stage startup. And it was one of my biggest lessons learned in that, operational decisions don't entirely always come from your sort of internal thought process, right? Sometimes there are external factors that sort of affect what you do. So that's a long way to say, I think we landed on that format for a show too late, right? It was just too far down the road, where if we had sequenced some of those features earlier and had been able to launch something with Tony earlier, who knows? Things might have gone a little bit different if you're able to get more episodes under our belt.
So I just want to clarify one thing. So was this just a one-time off thing that he came to do on the Playback TV platform? Was there an agreement in place? I'm not trying to get behind the scenes too much.
Nope. Great question. No, literally, we had built around the room. Obviously, you guys know I was doing the This Week on Playback every Thursday streams, giving updates. And our team actually shared sort of like around the room with Tony Reale. Had a couple contacts that we could get in contact with him, and he just loved the tool. And this is like, shouts out to Tony Reale. That man is incredibly genuine. Like, when he says he's all about the sports community, he believes in sort of like this next wave of sports media. He believes in sort of daily connectivity between sports fans. That is all genuine. So there was no like, Tony just did it because he loves sports fans. He thought it was a really, really cool product that we had built in around the room, a really cool feature, I should say, in the product that we had built. And he was just all about, trying to make it as successful of a launch for that feature as possible. So shouts go out to Tony for just genuinely being a guy that loves to connect around sports. That's really all that was.
And just one more thing. And then could you have, because you and I have talked about this before, about like a sponsorship marketplace. I know that was one of the ideas you guys were. So for that product, because I feel like, like Callan said in the Awful Announcing story, it got huge views. Could that have been marketed in the marketplace? Like, if you guys could have gotten ad spend, I think that could have generated. Now, again, it's a fallacy of a predetermined outcome to know what would have happened. But could that have generated that revenue if you guys were able to attach sponsors like they did on Around the Horn? Like, Callan and I joke about that all the time, where at the front of the Around the Horn episodes, they always had a sponsor on it. Could that have been a possibility to kind of keep that avenue going, or was that not there?
I don't think ad revenue was going to be a solution, at least not in sort of like the near term. I think longer term, we certainly had some ideas around ad revenue. I mean, with that being said, I do think we could have looked at potentially some more, revenue generating opportunities. But again, it kind of comes back to that push and pull, where internally at some point in time, we might want to focus on some revenue sources, right? Some revenue streams. But externally, we're really being pushed on growth, right? So it's always kind of this balancing act that we kind of had to play. But from a pure like ad standpoint, I don't think introducing dynamic ads or anything like that, even at the scale of something that we did with Tony within Around the Room, would have really moved the needle enough in the near term to make any, real tangible changes. But I do think if you look at specifically like sports betting and what we see happening in prediction markets and things like that, as I look back, that's potentially one revenue stream that I maybe wish we harped on a little bit harder. But that's also, again, back to being growth oriented versus being revenue oriented. And then also like what your team's kind of interests are, right? So we were really more focused on like community building and gathering around the live game. And we really didn't wrap our heads around basically trying to monetize around the sports betting space until we were pretty far down the road there.
Got it.
Brandon, one of the other main draws of Playback was the chance that people could simulcast their watch parties on YouTube or Twitch or Kick. But of course, users may have been reporting issues with, maybe some Iron Curtain or Iron Fist. Obviously, I think Nick and I know that it may have been like a DMCA violation if you had the game on. So I think you guys tried your best to make it like you'd have the scoreboard or the box score. You'd have everybody on screen, like a game cast basically.
Yeah.
So with that though, maybe did platforms like Twitch start throttling the Playback API because you weren't, perhaps being able to, get or maybe talk about how you guys had to go about the simulcast feature, because obviously you can't show the game on YouTube or those platforms.
Yeah, for sure. So since Playback was the only platform that actually had the rights access, we had the actual deals with the NBA and the MLB. Playback was the only platform that, your audience could actually authenticate their subscription and watch the live game. So that means Playback being used as a production tool for watch-alongs for creators. We had to make sure that that live game wasn't being sent to your simulcast, your RTMP destinations like a YouTube, like a Twitch, like a Twitter or X. So really what we wanted to do was we took a lot of inspiration for what we saw happening on the Real app, as a matter of fact, where it kind of became a space where people were having conversations around the game because they had access to the box score. I think around this time also, there were kind of a lot of complaints popping up about like the ESPN box score format. ESPN then changed their box score format on their mobile app. So it was kind of this aha moment where it was, okay, a lot of the people that are going to be consuming this event with the creator will actually either not be watching the actual game broadcast itself, or if they are watching the game broadcast itself, they got it on like Stream East.
It went down finally because of the illegal mirroring in Egypt or whatever.
So, and as sort of those streams started getting taken down more and more, there were just more people that actually weren't watching the game broadcast, but were consuming as a pure watch along, right? Where they would see and hear the creators, they'd be able to vibe with the community, but they needed some way to understand like some context of what's going on in the game. And so that's where sort of us diving into Gamecast came about. You can't screen share the game to YouTube or anything like that. But what we could build was, depending on what game you were watching in Playback, we could send as much context, as much information for the viewers on your simulcast destinations as possible. So we sent, the official team logos with the game score, the game clock, right? We added box score by the time we were finished with that tool, so that you could see who was on the court, what their stats were. Again, sort of getting into the sports betting use case for our sports handicappers and things like that want to be able to track that stuff, as well as just, your everyday sort of like league fans or team fans or player fans, right? That want to see how their favorite players performing. So we were going to, and we had plans to really level that up. I think if I were starting from square one in this space, the actual watch party where everyone's watching the game together, I think we're still a little ways away from really diving into that as a viable use case. I think in today's ecosystem, I would really focus on a top-notch premier Gamecast production tool. So you guys, as Empty the Bench, we can make sure that you guys can watch the game together so that you guys are in sync as content creators, because that's important. But for your audience, let's not show them the game. Let's instead show them really compelling assets that make it easy for you to produce them on YouTube, like the game score, the box score, individual player assets that you see on like a sports production. So like if you want to show, all right, it's, halfway through the third quarter and you want to flash a Donovan Mitchell graphic with his face and like what his stats are for the game, and he's maybe like the player of the game right now, being able to build in tools like that to make it really easy to produce a really, really high quality watch along is where I would actually is where I would start if I were starting from square one again. Again, I do think while it's a great idea to allow everyone to watch the games together, we've seen sort of the value of these sports media deals here recently. They're worth a lot of money. They're worth a ton of money. So while I would still argue that leagues are leaving money on the table by not making their product more accessible to fans, it's crazy that an NBA fan has to have like 5 or 6 different subscriptions to watch every game.
Yeah.
It's also hard to argue with the contracts that they recently signed as well. So, I do think that there is this sort of middle ground here in the nation state of new media where a really, really cool watch along production tool is something that I see as the next step.
Okay. So I have 2 thoughts here, kind of 2 different directions. So one is the VIP, which I think a lot of people had some frustrations with. and the other one was the questions of the creator fund. So I guess I'm going to put the creator fund aside for a second. So the VIPs, which you and I have had conversations about, and I'm sure a lot of people have had conversations with you about. I think like Callan and I found that frustrating because like for my team of people, like I had to VIP every person.
Yep.
And I don't like I told you I thought that was a little bit out of box. Like if I have a team of people, I should be able to put my people on screen because then I can use the VIPs to give to people to come check out for the first time. But there were times when I have 7 or 8 people, right, Callan? Sometimes
Yes.
with 70 people watching, that's half my VIP inventory is gone. Is there any answer
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah. I can definitely give you some color around that. I think this was probably, and if any like playback internal folks are watching, I think they'll agree with me here.
Okay.
This was probably one thing that we wanted to like scream from the mountaintops that from our end internally was kind of a frustrating lack of understanding, I would say, because I think we weren't really able to communicate it externally. And so creators kind of had to draw their own conclusions, which I don't blame anyone for drawing conclusions that they drew. VIPs, as we structured them with our league partners, were always intended, as I sort of mentioned with a watch along product, to allow creators to be in sync together. They really weren't intended as an audience tool. The initial thought process behind it is creators need to be able to see the game in sync to effectively host a watch along that can then be simulcast to their simulcast destinations, right? So it kind of, spiraled into, some folks basically, it's hard to police if someone is truly a creator under someone's brand, or if they're just giving someone access, right, to watch and saying they're a creator. So it was always something that was going to be impossible for us to enforce, quite honestly. But also it was crucial for people to be able to use our product, right? Because for people that actually do, like you guys at Empty the Bench, that do have a large base of creators, all of you need to be able to see the content in order to be able to host. So we couldn't explicitly say that. So we just had to have creators kind of try to read between the lines in that regard. And I think we had a similar situation with the Creator Fund, I would say. The Creator Fund was never intended to last forever. And I think maybe in hindsight, we should have just said that when we shut it down. But, we were a venture funded startup. The frustrating point for me sometimes was, as a venture funded startup, I was largely, compensated in equity, right? So it's not like I'm sitting here not making a massive salary, paying out more in creator fund payouts to plenty of creators than I even make myself. We're also building a product that's bringing a lot of value to creators, right? Like they don't have to pay for StreamYard. They can, it's a simulcast tool. It's incredibly feature rich. And so the creator fund going away, and this is another really big lesson learned for me, I always thought that would be met relatively well, I should say. And I was always a bit surprised that there was sort of like this gap in, I felt like we were providing exceptional value. And I felt like the creator fund was like absolute like whipped cream and cherry on top of value we're already providing. And so I think really it was an eye opener to maybe back to the idea that maybe we're not ready for the watch party to be an actual like viable use case today. It was an eye opener that maybe, maybe these folks are just watching on Playback, doing these watch parties solely for the creator fund, because in my opinion, we had built a product by the end that users should have paid for. So it was a total like, 180 in how our community was thinking about the product versus how we thought about the product. I was like, okay, we need to start charging people for this because I think it's a product that brings a lot of value, where the community was like, wait, you're not paying us to use the product anymore. So yeah, that chasm between us and the community was something that, it took us a long time, I think, to really start to bridge that gap. And we really tried to lean into things like, as you mentioned before, like affiliate sponsorships, right? And being able to open up an affiliate marketplace. We basically had to quickly backfill those monetization opportunities for our creators because, quite honestly, our creators weren't digging into the value of our tool to then build their own monetization strategy, right? So we kind of did it to ourselves, right? We had the fund, we had just like pure, you stream and you earn. And I think we never set the expectation that as a creator, you're supposed to take our tool and use it to grow your own community, your own monetization strategy. So yeah, again, lots of lessons learned over the time at Playback. That's certainly one that sticks with me as far as expectation setting is concerned with the community.
So, and Callan and I were discussing this next topic as well about the Creator Fund. Callan used to say to me all the time, we see all these big names on the platform. And I think this goes back partially to what you said, maybe about a disconnect of seeing where certain things are being used and all this stuff, but seeing like the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce podcast, or Gilbert Arenas, who's being on this platform, or Jeff Teague being on this platform, or Carabas's guys and that platform.
Baseball is dead and those boys.
So I guess my disconnect, and Callan and I were discussing this a lot, was that fund went away. How were they being incentivized to be on the platform with their followings being on Playback?
Yeah, I think each sort of talent agreement was different. I know there were some folks that were, again, like variable comp plus, it was a different agreement for different folks, quite honestly. And it all does, again, tie back to this internal versus external push and pull. When you're being driven to drive up usage, right? Like when you are being told usage matters, you need more people on your platform, you need more users on your platform. For us, that means, okay, we need to go get the folks with the biggest communities, right? And again, that's not all just, the decisions weren't always internal. And I think that's the thing that I really want to get across here is there are external factors that we certainly had to consider along every step of the way. And I will also say that value proposition conversation that we come back to, it's different for a Gilbert Arenas than, respectfully, like an empty the bench as an example. Like a Gilbert Arenas, he's already got certain deals he's working on. He's got production softwares that have reached out to him or that have deals set up with him, right? So the value proposition that we provide to a sort of standard creator community is going to look a lot different than it looks for a creator of a different size. So that's just kind of how like the economics of the situation work. But at the end of the day, I think the point stands that as we worked incredibly hard to provide a product that we felt was giving value to our community, saving you time, helping you reach more people, helping you, create in use cases that you're unable to create with other tools. And I think a lot of our creators are feeling that pain today. Like when Playback disappeared, I think maybe a lot of people realized, oh shoot, it was actually way more important to my workflow than I thought it was. Yeah, I think that was some of the frustration I think we felt internally as a team.
Brandon,
that we didn't necessarily feel that love all the time.
Brandon, I'm glad you brought that up because Nick and I also talked last night about, our community on Playback was growing. Chasing Wins, which was the Warriors room, they had over 10,000 people.
Shout out Dre.
The Chelsea FC group had like 13,000 members. And I think that we're in a way kind of fortunate because we pivoted back to StreamYard and YouTube, Twitter, and social media streaming. Maybe your thoughts about how maybe some people did pivot back to wherever they were, but maybe those that probably weren't as fortunate now losing that big following as you were kind of alluding to.
Worst part about all of this, and it's why I'm going to try and keep my pinned tweet up there for as long as possible. Yeah, it was the worst part about all of it. There are so many people out there, so many communities out there that immediately come to me like top of mind that built something super cool on Playback, right? And they put in the time, they put in the effort, they understood the value of the tool, and they used every bit of it. So that, and I think I speak for the rest of the Playback team when I say that was probably the hardest part of all of it, is understanding that there are people that have built real awesome communities that without the tool, and we've seen this, those communities have disbanded, right? They don't create content or gather anymore. And that's honestly sad to see. And yeah, it does come back to, I mentioned, you probably haven't seen the last of me in this space. I do think there is still room for a community tool in sports, right?
Agreed.
And it doesn't have to allow us to watch the games together. As a matter of fact, it probably shouldn't, based on what rights and content costs nowadays.
Oh.
But it wasn't even necessarily about watching the game. It was about having a space to gather during the game window. So if that's something that can be provided to communities here and something that I can help work on to provide to communities, I'm going to do that. So yeah, I'm working on some stuff in the background to see if we can get some tools back in some of these communities' hands to allow them to do more of what they were doing on Playback, not in the same aspect as I mentioned, sort of like that watch party capacity, but still give them a space to gather while the game's on, almost like a Discord meets real app in a way.
There you go. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I'll finish on this because I know you have to run, but our biggest thing was when we saw kind of the pivoting happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were already doing, I'm sure you saw us doing like shows on the side of our stream.
Yes.
That was a big thing because we knew, because Callan and I would get frustrated by the simulcast because you couldn't see, at least on the shows, you could see on the simulcast versions when you ran stuff. And I think, would you say in conclusion that people didn't take advantage of maybe doing other show type things on there to take advantage of that simulcast?
Yeah, I think my opinion on this, Playback by the time we finished was one of the most powerful applications I have ever seen. Like, especially when you consider the fact you could basically do everything on mobile that you could do from like the desktop, like from the web app on desktop. It was one of the most powerful applications I've ever seen. I think, again, we could never get ourselves out from under that. All I need to do is stream and I earn money, like thought process that, again, was part of our own doing. If people just took a step back, like if we had charged for Playback from day one and said, this is something that is going to help you grow for X, Y, and Z reasons, I think people would have adopted it in a much different way from day one. I do think people left a lot on the table as far as content formats that were possible. But honestly, maybe that's just the marketplace today, right? I do think we're in a place where, the marketplace maybe isn't as saturated as we thought it was. There is still some low-hanging fruit, some easy money for these creators to earn. And maybe folks don't have to differentiate their content that much today to still make it work. As these younger generations come up, there's only going to be more and more live streamers, more and more content creators. I would be shocked if we don't have to see a complete level up from the, quite honestly, somewhat stale formats that we're continuing to be served today. The format for live podcasting, especially as it relates to sports podcasting, it's been the same for quite some time now. So would absolutely love to see the ability for people to create really high-end studio level productions, what we were doing with Around the Room. We had some other really, really cool formats plans, things around Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, things like that. I think that is the future. I think, content creators are going to have to get more creative in their formats. Their production quality is going to have to step up. they basically become the new television, right? And Playback was that live production studio to help them become the new television. We were maybe a little bit before our time, but I do think that is something that's coming down the pipeline.
Well, Brandon, this clarified a lot for sure. We learned some things. Sad to see the platform kind of go. Callan and I used to do doubleheader NBA, NBC streams for the NBA. But who knows? Maybe it'll come back someday in a different form.
I hope so.
Genuinely, it could. And hopefully it does. But in the meantime, I do think even if it's not a watch along, or even if it's not a watch party, I should say, a production tool that produces really, really cool watch alongs based on the usage that we saw at Playback. People just want to gather around sports. They want to talk to their people. So if they can gather around some really cool graphics, get really cool information, and have that like vibe that they're in a sports bar during a live game, that's really the atmosphere that they need created. The game is gravy.
Well, Brandon, thank you for your time. Appreciated. Hopefully we can stay in touch and talk again. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate it, gentlemen. You take care.
Have a great day, Brandon. Thanks again, my man. All right, there he goes, gang. Brandon Towers, formerly of Playback TV. 2 months.
125 people watching. Look at that.
Unreal.
But I know you got to get out of here. Let's just quickly sum up the show fast.
Scott Farrell was incredible. Go and watch the show again.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Unbelievable. Trust me, if you want to go hit the replay, I'm going to put it up separately later. Don't you worry. I think he spent about 40 minutes with us, actually, believe it or not.
I think he'd gone past the top of the hour.
So, hey, and he didn't have to. He did not have to. But talk about someone who's funny. I think you and I laughed the entire.
I'm shocked my chair is not broken yet.
But and then you just heard Brandon. Brandon was great. I think Brandon did everything to the best of his ability to really tell us what was going on. And maybe us creators didn't know the whole story.
Yeah. And I think we got a bit of clarity, maybe some closure.
Yeah. I mean, he said it could possibly come back. Could it? Maybe in a different possibility. Yeah. You never know. But the next show is February 11th. We'll discuss the recap after the Super Bowl. Kind of maybe the ratings, the commercials, all that stuff. And we'll start preparing you for March Madness and the business side of March Madness, and now Major League Baseball now entering. So now we're going to have to deal with all the Rob Manfred statements with RSN models. So strap in. We could be closer to a WNBA strike soon. So make sure you tune into Press Row. Right. Follow us, Press Row at Press Row ETB across all social media platforms. Follow the network at ETB Network across all social media platforms, youtube.com/ETB Network for all our live shows. And Clearing the Bench, Super Sunday Takeover commences on Friday.
Woo!
6:30 p.m. Eastern, all the way through to the big game on Sunday. And then we'll recap it all again on next Monday. So, what a show.
What a day. Thank you again to Scott Farrell and Brandon Towers for joining us. We'll see you folks again next Wednesday, February 11th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. He's Nick Morgasen, Callan McClurg saying good night from San Diego and from New York. Till next week. Bye-bye.
See you later. Have a good week.